Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 38th episode of the HSBG podcast. I'm your host, Educatedcollins. I'm here with my constant co-host, Shady Vani. Shady, how you doing?
I'm great, Collins. Good to be here as always. How are you, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. It's the holiday season. I wouldn't call myself someone who goes crazy for holidays or anything like that, but I'm feeling it this year. I don't know, like. There's a lot of presents under the tree. It's like the most I think I've seen ever in my life. Like I don't know what happened this year. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm more excited about who's gonna how they're gonna feel from my presents than really receiving anything. Anyway, I think that's pretty cool. But generally, only a couple of days till Christmas, and some people care about that. But if you do, happy holidays. If you don't, well, you have other things, right? So yeah.
Have a nice week.
Yeah, have a nice week. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's I was looking at it, I was like, holy crap, that's less than a week. Yeah. So that creeps up on you for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's something that I probably looked forward to a lot more when I was in school. When it was just like some time off school finally. Now it's just like I'm streaming anyway. I was just like, I'm not gonna be streaming over Christmas, especially now I'm a father.
Right.
I pretty much used to, right? It was just like, well, it's just it's another week.
Day,
so, yeah. But not complaining at all. All right, what do we got on the schedule for today?
Well, as you know, Shane, we always start with our weekly overview of just kind of how you feel this week, this meta, or anything interesting you've had throughout the week. For me, particularly, I mean, the meta, there's been a patch, but I don't really feel like the meta's changed too much. So it's kind of very samey. But generally, it's still like, even with no changes, I still like the meta. Like, I don't hate the meta or anything, or say, do I get frustrated? Like, hi. I would say that the meta kind of fits my playstyle in a way. Like, oh yeah, a lot of tier 6 and stuff, and tier 4, a lot of things to do, so I'm not really sad about the meta or hating it, but it is interesting that a patch comes out, nothing really changes. So that's been my week.
It's more like a token patch, I think, or
Yeah,
last patch in a while. It's a patch. Right?
Yeah, here's a fake patch for you guys. No,
yeah, here's a patch. We're changing things. I swear. Yeah, my week has been similar, I guess. Where it's been had this like really good streak where I started playing on EU again because I did all my practice on an A because we had the tournament on an A. So yeah, then went back on EU and pretty much went from 12k to 13.2 over the course of 4 days. So it was like a really steady pace of like, wow.
I've been better since I've been here. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, it's like I haven't played it. Like I'm getting points for fourth. Oh, that's crazy, man. Like 3.5 plus 15. Okay, sign me up. Let's do this. So that went very, very clean. I think it's similar where the meta feels good, but there's just if you play this much, you're going to see things where you're like, this frustrates me. So there's definitely some interactions for me. I talked about it already. Today in particular, I just pointed out like I lost the Reborn Maxna, Like I could look at my match history, right? And like this board lost the Reborn Maxna, this board lost the Reborn Maxna, this board lost the Reborn Maxna. I was just like, okay. Sure, Reborn Max sounds pretty good, huh?
We've been saying that for a while, though.
We've been saying that for a while, yeah. But now it's to the point where everybody be doing it.
Everyone knows, yeah. It's like right before the lights, like everyone's playing Light Spawn, right? It was like, Light Spawn's a fun interactive card, well balanced, like, yeah. When you're the only one doing it, very balanced card. If you really take advantage of it, now that everyone's there, it's like Light Spawn's a problem. Get out of this.
Yeah, for sure. It's the same thing. Like Reborn Max is a problem. It was okay when I was cheesing people with it, but now it's a problem. But overall good week.
Yeah. All right. I want to bring this up, right? Next topic, right? The Hearthstone World Championships has been completed, and I feel like even though we're mostly battlegrounds, I feel it's wrong not to talk about the world champions. Just give a little nod, at least to me. I watched it, most some of it, a decent amount of it. I was aware of what was going on. I know Shady is not really cares too much. It's just on me, but I just want to say spoilers ahead, right? Congratulations. Oh wait, the patch is out, but I can skip that topic. Congratulations to Pelosi for winning the championship. Very well done. Very good representation, right, from the Japanese players, right? Glory as well, getting second place there. And Glory is the previous world champion, right? So he had the potential to get back to back, which I don't think anyone has done, and is extremely impressive. So definitely congratulations to Pelosi, congratulations to Glory as well, and just their region for representing them well. And I do think that's a big accomplishment. I just want to, spend a little time, give them a little shout out. They deserve it, I feel. So, congratulations. Yeah, that's all. But moving on, we do have the patch 22.0.2 came out, I believe, a couple of days ago, right? On Tuesday. Was it Monday or Tuesday? I believe. I think it was on Monday, right? Because it was weird. Yeah. Normally it's on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it was a Monday patch.
Yeah. So pretty interesting. They did say they weren't going to do a patch before World, so I guess they just had this patch already like queued up, right? And then they're like, okay, World's done. Patch, let's go. Let's drop it. Yeah, right there. So we're definitely going to talk about it and talk about it in context as well, but it's a pretty small patch, I would say overall. Just a couple changes, a couple nerfs, and a couple adjustments, but not a huge patch, not a big patch. We're not going to be talking all about this patch this podcast, but it is an interesting thing just to look about and talk about. And I do think there's some interesting applications you can take from this patch that I think need to be discussed as well. So we'll talk about that later, but pretty interesting. I always like talking about patches. I believe we're going straight into the patch as well.
Yeah,
we're not really beating around the bushes here. So I do want to start off just talking about the context. I hope I have that topic in. Give me 1 second. Yeah, okay. I believe we do have the context. So this is just some context for the battleground section of the patch. I did look through the constructed patch. I was pretty happy with that, but it doesn't matter here. Like the battlegrounds patches, they said that Songbird Kura, one of the designers, sent a, I believe it was a Sungler stream. We didn't really want to make substantial BG nerfs with the big content drops coming soonish. We also didn't have enough time to make more significant changes. We only really felt safe with some numbers right now. So basically what they're saying is they have something in the works that's going to drop soon, and they've been working on that. So they haven't really been focusing on these changes. And they also weren't too sure they wanted to do any big changes on this patch. They weren't comfortable with their numbers, the data that they had. They weren't happy with it to use that to make big changes. So they decided to make just small adjustments and see if that changes the meta or not. And what's your thoughts on just the context? Just does that make everything better? Everything you see in the patch? Are you like, okay, I'm now very happy about this, or are you still like, there's some issues there even with this context?
It does really feel a bit more like a token patch, where it's like, okay, don't worry, we update our game regularly. You can look at the patch history. Now, I think there's two ways to go about this. I think that you have to really choose. Well, you don't have to, but I choose to go with a positive interpretation. Is that I don't think there's anything in the patch where I'm like, well, okay, this need one we can talk about. But I think most of the things in the patch, you can say this has not made the game any worse, and it's probably made it marginally better. So is that something that we should embrace? Yeah, sure. In my opinion, it's good. Of course, as it is, I feel with a lot of Blizzard patches over the years, as a competitive player, you look at them and you say, it could have been so much better. But did it make the game worse? No. And I mean, there's a lot of factors at play. Like Cora mentioned, lack of time and probably resources allocated to producing some bigger changes. Hopefully, that is somewhere in January. So yeah, for the most part, I think it's a positive interpretation there, where a couple of things that don't necessarily make the game worse, and overall better, just like marginally though.
All right. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here because I
Mhm.
want to. First of all, I,
All
I
right.
I think while you can look at it from that way, you have to look at the changes themselves and say, does do these changes really feel like they understand what's going on with the meta? Does these changes really
Oh
feel like
God.
they know what they're trying to
Well,
balance? What changes make sense? What changes change the game or have a direction there? Also, like ignoring the changes, I did think it's weird that I had to find like before Shady like told me, oh yeah, this core has context here. But before that, I didn't really know it, and it's weird that the context is coming from another streamer's Twitch chat. That they had to post on Twitter for me to see this, right? Like we have this context because
yeah.
we're good reporters and stuff. But most players, most people just casually playing or anything, they're not going to know this context. They're not going to see this, and you're not
Absolutely.
finding this explanation or description for the patch. You're not seeing it on like the big developers Twitters or anything, right? Like I had to look through, find it on a different
Yeah.
streamer's Twitch.
Have to
Like
skim
it's like
through
so
it. Like,
it's vague, right? So I think if they come out with the patch and then very quickly they have this explanation while they're like alongside it or with any of the Hearthstone Battlegrounds designers, then I'm like, okay, they're aware, here it is. But like the fact that it's coming through like a Twitch channel comment, it's like, I don't love that. That's not really, back and forth conversation there to make us understand or be like, okay, I see where they're coming from. It's very hard and very rare. Like, it's just cause, we have we're in the world, the ecosystem so often that we'll see all the context, but most players won't, and I do think that's a
I do
problem.
I do agree that if you have no context, you look at this and you say like these people are beyond incompetent. When you look at the light
That's
bonds
a
change,
bit much.
that
Yeah,
no, I
but
mean, I'm just interpreting how I think the average person without the context. Once again, I gave my opinion earlier.
right.
Without the context, you look at it and be like, they have no idea what they're doing. Like light spawn is behind two acolytes. I don't give a shit if it's a 2-5 or a 1-5 or a 0-5. It sits there and it's cranking the numbers up. So yeah, that's probably the most contested, quote unquote nerf. It is a nerf, right? No matter how you look at it, it is a nerf.
It is
I
a
think I took
nerf.
I think I took 2 extra damage today
Wow.
because the stats are reduced.
Okay,
So
sure.
it's huge, right?
Yeah,
I took
right
2 extra
before you
damage.
won, right? I hear you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, my guys were like 100 in no time. I took 2 extra damage at some point, so that was, the card didn't become any better, but it's yeah, it definitely maybe indeed like the right idea to say, oh, we're going to do something rather than nothing. But it does feel indeed that if you come out with a patch like that, the perception might be more important than the actual patch itself, right? And the perception of the patch indeed is like, well, you guys have no idea, what's going on. If you think make and light, like even if you would nerf the health on light spawn,
That's way
which,
better.
yeah, that would be way better, but
Yeah.
it's still behind acolyte.
Yeah, right. It doesn't do
So like,
anything.
yeah, I mean, maybe it dies to bomb, right? It dies
Right.
to a bomb.
Yeah,
Or,
sure.
but the funny thing is, if you make it 4 health, then
Then
Frank
it
might not
dodges
shoot it.
Frank, yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah.
right? So, that's kind of funny. Right? Anyways, like we've been, alluding to it. Let's dive right in and go over the patch. But yeah, it's funny. It's funny in a way.
Yeah, all right. So first thing we should talk about is just I believe the Sneed changes on first on the list, right? So they made a big Sneed change. They're buffing Sneed's armor, right? And when I saw that, I was like, I can't believe they're buffing Sneed's armor. And then I read the second line, and that calmed me down a little bit,
Yeah,
So
no, So which tier would you think is appropriate for new Sneeds? Well, let's first talk about like what is new
What
Sneeds?
is new sneeze? Yeah, so they're changing. They're moving a 1 to a 2. We've talked about that to death. You know,
Yeah,
that's the hammer approach.
yeah, that's the death sentence approach. Like, I'm changing your 1 into a 2, mister. It's done for you.
Yeah, so Sneeze hero power is not changing in any way, right? It's still stackable, but now it costs 2 mana to hero power a minion instead of 1. And I do think that is a gigantic nerf, like a huge nerf. Like you got to play like George, essentially, where you have to think about what you're hero powering, right? Before you could kind of just hero power whatever, didn't really matter as long as it stays on your board for a while. It's pretty good target. Now you have to think about, okay, do I actually want to invest 2 gold on this one star minion and get another 1 star minion? You know, is that really how I want to be spending my early game? You know, because 2 gold for a 1 drop is not as enticing as 1 gold for a 1 drop, or 1 gold for 2 1 drops, right? If you're using the money value, right? So it's a lot more impactful. I haven't touched this hero since it got nerfed, and I haven't seen it, so I love it. I love this change. But is it like, honestly, I love the change because I hate this hero and I think it's a horribly designed hero. So if I never see it, I'm happy. So like, personally, I don't care. Delete the hero. It's fine for me. You know. So like,
they did.
yeah. But is this like, is this the right approach? Honestly, I think maybe it is. So I'm perfectly fine with this nerf. To be fair, but I'm extremely biased, and I know that.
I think the non-stackable nerf would have been. I think it would have been reasonable because after we go to a non-stackable hero power, we can then see, okay, what's up here? How does it feel
Right.
now?
Yeah.
Because with this one, you don't get any data. Nobody's playing this trash, right? This is unplayable garbage now. They put it in tier 2 with 2 to 5 armor. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna, the armor count's gonna increase over time. You can take that from me. This shit is not tier 2. So yeah, it's weird that they like put it in tier 2 when they doubled the cost of the hero power. Like, how much do you think this is gonna affect the hero? It's
I'm okay with this, Shady. I'm
yeah,
telling you.
that's okay. It's just weird. It's weird to me that it's now it's regarded as tier 2. I get that might be like a careful change, but that's overly careful. Like, you could put this at least tier 3 and probably tier 4, tier 5, in my opinion. Because I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to play this.
I do think it's extremely hard for them to judge like changes they haven't seen people play test with. Like they have their own playtest group, probably, of course, and they probably played a couple of games with this, but it's nothing like putting it in the hands of like top players or like the whole community at large and seeing, oh, is it actually strong or not? So I think it's just hard to especially with the armor, to be like, yeah, this is gonna be from tier 1 to tier 4 or tier 3. Like, it's hard to judge that, so I'm not really too worried. And I know the armor is probably gonna, either the hero part's gonna adjust or the armor is gonna change. But I wouldn't fault them too much on them not having the armor correct, because I just think it's such a hard thing to get correct. So without any testing, without any stats.
Maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe I'm wrong as well. But my gut reaction.
I agree with you that this is not right. But yeah, but it's fine.
All right, next up.
Yeah, so Sneeds, Sneeds, yes, for me, but I like the hero. This is the type of change I'm looking for. Get rid of this hero. Hero is very unhealthy, but yeah, I don't think a lot of people will be playing it. Next thing we have, I believe, is Tasman. Where's Tasman? There you are. It's Tasman. So Tasman's getting a adjustment. I wouldn't call this a nerf or a buff. It's just an adjustment. So she used to have a 0 cost hero power. You destroy your lowest minion and then you give the health to the others. Now it costs 1. You destroy your lowest health minion, so that's the same. But now you give all the stats to the others. So it's pretty interesting. It's not a straight buff, even though I'd say Tasman is one of the weakest heroes, I would say, or like the least consistent. It's like hard to play, blah blah blah. Right. I do think it's interesting to not get like a straight buff, right? It's more of an adjustment where you have to spend money now to use your hero power, but you're getting the attack value instead. So do you have any initial thoughts, or do you want me to go?
I mean, well, she was pretty unplayable before this, and I think she might be more unplayable now. They have to pay money for it, so it's okay. So I'm gonna just throw some stuff out there because the argument that was put forth is like, yeah, but just get a chroma wing. Just get a chroma wing and buff that sucker up, and it's gonna have 3 health and 1,000,000 damage, and you give your board 1,000,000 damage. It's like, okay, well, first of all, you're not going to be hero powering for a very long time because you'd reform curve without getting a minion. My God, I cannot stress how awful that is, right? Like there's no way you do that. So you're a cat for a long time, and then your bonus for playing like a cat in the early game is you pay a gold every turn to play down a body to potentially have this very specific chroma wing where you'd have to have a board full of divine shield for it to maybe matter, right? Because you still run into rat packs. I was like, dear God, what are we doing, right? Like, no, I mean, if you're going to play like a cat, you need a payout like a cat, and cat is far from a top tier hero. So yes, it's a big no for me.
So I think the hero got better on a theoretical sense, because I think before there was nothing you could do with Tasman. Absolutely, I don't see it. Like you said, there's Terragosa, and people will tell me that. I've run that. I've done it. It did not feel good. Now, there are things you can do with Tasman. Now, are they good? Are they strong? Will I be doing them personally? No, on all of those answers.
Yeah.
But at least
I will give that to you.
Yeah, at least there's an option. And I'd rather go from a hero with 0 options to a hero with options that are doable but bad, So I would say better but still horrible, like I'm not thinking that the win rate's going to go up. The pick rate went up, I think, but I don't think the win rate's really going to go up. It might even go down. But it's still...
But that's kind of the Flurgle effect, right? Where before you'd have the Flurgle appreciators who are like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is pre-buff, right?
Yeah.
And then now we may have some Tamsin mains that they're like, no, you don't understand. Like, you guys are playing it wrong. Yeah. Stop tanking the win rate. Let's have a gander. So top 1%. We're looking at Tamsin at blah, 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 blah. Where is she? So right now, but there's like no sample size.
Do top 5%. I also like looking at that too, just to see like what more, specific, like a more rounded look at things.
Yeah. Let's see where she is. Yeah, like solid tier 4.
Not last though.
No. Beating out on Rat King. Actually, okay. The second worst one is Sneed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is Sneed is being trumped by Guff right now. And Rakanishu and Lord Jiraxis. So to further back up my statement that
don't read the patch notes before you say that statement. Beating Sneed, don't read the patch notes.
It's like Hamston better than Sneed now. Read the headline. Cut out everything. That's what I want. Just ship it. Bam. But tier 4, essentially one spot tied with Cariel at the moment in the top 5%. So obviously those numbers are going to change a bit for top 1%, but didn't seem to have enough data on her yet, which makes sense because who the hell in top 1% is this? Of course, there's no data.
Yeah. I mean,
all right. Anyone who values MMR is not picking that. But so I understand, and I want to echo your sentiment that there is a path with this hero now, where you have to start with a chroma wing. You have to high roll enough to not have a hero power for a while. You then have to find divine shields, and then you have a mediocre comp, and
Yeah,
that's good. It's
that's
like
better than nothing. Yeah.
you worked your ass off to have ground shaker comp, right?
Yeah.
Like, yep, there you go. You're a ground shaker now.
So,
So that's and you're playing down a body, right? Which has almost no relevance in this poison meta or whatnot.
yeah, of
So
course. Yeah.
got it. It just gets worse when you're
I
really
know.
taking down.
But it's
But you're
something.
playing down a
It's
body.
something. I got to give them to the people. There's a path now, copium. It's there.
Yeah.
So
There's a strat now. She has a strat
yeah,
copium.
yeah. So
Yeah, no. I mean, all jokes and silliness aside, I mean, what else are you gonna do? I feel like the hero was just kind of a swing and a miss, right? It's like we're gonna do this cool thing, and there's gonna be applications for it. It's just the way how the meta works, the way how the game works. It's too fast paced. You can't afford to just not have a hero power for a while. Like when Reno is hero powering 4 drops, you know what kind of meta it is, and there's no way you can afford to just mess around for this long. But even in a slower meta, right? Like playing down the unit just feels very
what if you don't destroy the minion or
Mm.
something?
I mean, that's a huge start, but
I know.
that
I'm trying to like. I see
yeah,
right where it is. It's like very weird,
yeah,
right? The destroy the minion, right?
transforming.
I felt like it was supposed to have like some type of cool effect, or so, but it
Yeah,
really doesn't. So I'm just thinking, right? Like you can't like do reborn, right? Because then it's just a freaking Lich King,
no, like,
right? So you have to do something weirder. But I do think it needs a different buff or a different adjustment or something, or remove it, right? Like, there's a lot of heroes that just give stats or do something weird, and they're not strong. They're just in the game for you to groan when you have 4 of them at the same time, right? And it's like, just remove them. Like,
yeah. You play your Mukla or you play or
well,
whatever, and
Mukla's okay. Like, Mukla, you
Mukla's
could,
okay,
yeah.
but he's just kind
I'm
like
talking about like
it's funny.
Cariel levels, like just
Sure,
get that out of
yeah,
here.
yeah. Or just you'll take your armor and then
Yeah.
never click that button. Yeah, that's fair. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna pretend that I'm really good at playing it and evaluating it, but to come up with a solution is not always the easiest thing.
Just need to hire me. I have a ton of ideas, so.
Collins is full of ideas. You guys
Yeah.
hear this?
All right, moving on. Next topic we've got is, I believe, the armor changes. Oh no. Yeah. The armor changes. So we've got 7 minions getting a armor adjustments. I was going to like do like fancy graphics for this, and then I was like, nah, this is too much
Just
work.
run it down.
Yeah, let me just put them all in one slide. I do think I want to skip Scabs, Patches, and Gallywix and talk about the ones in the middle first, because I feel like those 4 in the middle don't matter that much. Like,
Sure.
they're like
Yeah.
somewhat low tier. Like Cariel moving up to 10 armor, I don't think anyone's going to pick Cariel now because of that. Deathwing moving up in armor. Deathwing, I think, was already playable, so this kind of helps a little bit. But it's like, like it's not gonna be like, oh yeah, now I'm gonna play Deathwing instead of this because it has 1 more health. That's like whatever.
Honestly, sometimes I'm having these packs where I do let the armor decide. I'm just like, well, I just I'm gonna be looking for a light spawn anyway. Which one of these suckers is gonna give me a little extra health to milk? So
Sure.
it's just hilarious.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the deciding factor. I'm like, all right,
You're
you have more armor. I'll take
you're a
you.
patchwork lover. I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, I play patchwork. Like not all the time, right? But I've played him way more now that they have the armor in, because I feel like it's funny. You would think that patchwork gets worse because you're
Worse,
like, well,
yeah.
no, other people. But it's like he reaches critical mass where it's like, I'm not dying for a while, like I've got the extra chunk and I've got the armor. So it's like that's like 2 extra turns of light spawn. Oh, let's go. So yeah, it's funny. Anyways, yeah.
Maleficent's getting
Cariel,
2
definitely.
armor.
Yeah.
I thought this
Which
was
made
Millhouse, and I was like, damn, okay, but
tier
then
5 Millhouse.
yeah. But then like my chat told me, no, this is a Millhouse, and I was like, well, actually Sapphire was like, this is a Millhouse, and I was like, yeah, okay. And then Starfang also moving up in armor. I don't think any of these are going to make people play these
No,
anymore.
really.
Yeah.
No.
So.
I do think the melee one, right? We talked about it out. How the hell is this tier 3, right? Because
I think this could be even tier 6 or 7 as well. Like,
yes, but once again, this is not based purely off the top ranked
well, you're
players'
right,
data,
right, right,
and any hero that pushes you in a direction, as we have seen with Jiraxis, just gets better the lower MMR you go.
right, right,
So people with melee, they just end up buying some mechs,
right.
and they're slightly stronger, and they win some fights, and they're like, hey, okay, I do okay on melee.
Yeah.
So
Now that you're talking about, this isn't just based on like top 1% or like whatever, like the high rated players. It also like it's like there are some heroes that are not on this list, and I'm like, why are you not on this list? Right? Did any of them jump out to you in particular? We can talk about it after we talk about all of them, or we could talk about it now if you like.
yeah, there's okay. So you're alluding to Shutterwalk or
And Brand, in my opinion.
Brand? Yeah, so Brand, I would say slightly less. But
Yeah. Shutterwalk is like the flashing, like what is going on here?
Big
You know?
offender, right? Like, what the hell? Like, God, man, I played one today where I was like, this is not okay. This is not fair at all. And this it feels similar with Brand, but with Brand it feels like you need to have more like
everything in, right? You need
really, everything in, and also good knowledge about the hero
of what you're doing. Yeah.
good,
Brand, I can see.
Khadgar mechanics, etc. Yeah.
Legit, Brand, I can see the argument for like, like it's very specific, and you have to know what you're doing. Like it's not obvious. Shutterwalk, I feel like at this point it's like,
you just need to hit like 2 tokens in your house, right? Yeah.
And you don't even need it early, right? You can just like, if elementals are in, just stay on, just get 4s, get 2 Shadow light fangs, or light spawns, you're in
very,
business.
very safe. Yeah. You don't even need to take the chance. Like you're like, sometimes you're like 28 health now, or higher sometimes
with 6
if
drops.
You had a good start. Yeah. If you do 4 drops, you could be low 30.
You could be 30. Yeah, it's like
which is insane. Just like pull 3-4 drops in your low 30s. So yeah, so definitely some heroes that are missing, but once again, the game isn't balanced around us, which is ridiculous, right? Imagine not balancing really, for specifically our
needs. It really is a little bit ridiculous because the other players won't know. Like, they're not going to be like, oh, yeah, I can't believe Jiraxis got nerfed, or whatever. Like, they're not going to, or got buffed. Jiraxis is like, so strong, What are they buffing Jiraxis? I can't believe, they're not complaining. They're like, oh, my favorite hero got buffed. Yeah, they're fine. We're the ones who are gonna complain, like, why are you nerfing Jiraxis? Why are you nerfing Grease Spot? And we're like, what? Like it's fine. So I do think maybe they should think about it. But I understand, like, to be fair, I understand like balancing around every level.
I think there's tons of advantages to balancing around your highest level of play. Because I feel like that's also the play that gets featured. That's the play that gets streamed. That's the play people see in tournaments. And that's the play people want to emulate eventually. I don't think that... Yeah, go ahead.
You don't love my Jiraxis full scam, just get 7 demons here per every turn. Very consistent, you don't love it. Very very copyable. Just
very copyable.
Just buy demons, hero power.
Go straight into the next game.
I win all my tournaments like that, Eventually, I add light spawn. That's a little tech. I just add light spawn.
Little tech I add, and then I buff the shop, and then I add a couple
FL mats in there. Yeah, it's the same comp.
And then I'm playing demons, and I'm like 4 out of my 5 demons are Malgadons. I'm showing demons, And the hero power I actually don't use because it's not worth the money. God, no, but
you got it.
And that's how I play Jiraxis. That's my patented Jiraxis strategy.
For sure.
All right. Anyways.
Yeah, but we should get back on track, right? So Scabs, right? Scabs losing the armor benefit, right? Like, Scabs starting with 5 armors, like, was so nonsense, right? So I think this
really insane.
I really think this is an okay change, like,
I'd say it is a great change. I think that's exactly, no hesitation there, just being like, armor gone, because Scabs good, armor gone.
I've seen people lose games because of this difference, like, legitimately. Yeah.
If you're starting as 40, that's a significant chunk, right? 5 health gone.
So
Absolutely.
Pretty. I think this is like the best change out of all of the ones that I've seen. Like I'm like yes,
I think the galley one's also
Galley one is
yeah.
also pretty good. Yeah, yeah. Patches.
Galley is one of those where you're like, do you want to give him 0 armor? I think it'd be
I don't want to give him 0 because I feel like that's so brutal. Like the window to win is so low, where
well.
you lose like a
The thing
turn
is,
every
like, it's
game.
also really brutal when you have a good player on
Yeah, that's
galley.
true. I know,
Like
but
you're and you see them having like anything early, you're like, okay, I'm playing for second, right? Like I feel like
I
if I'm
lost to a
playing galley,
galley yesterday.
yeah, I just get like a nest wing and I'm just like, all right, everyone's playing for second, baby. Let's go.
He hit a party elemental in the wrath, and then he had a double master of realities, and it was like turn 9 or 10, and he had like 70 master realities. I'm just like, there's no way I could ever beat this, like unless
Yeah.
I was running
Well,
poison or something.
if beasts are in, right? Yeah, then you can do max
Yeah,
correct.
beast
So
weren't in or something. I don't
if beasts are out, yeah, you're just running wild with
know.
stats at that point.
I mean, it was too early. It was way too early to have that board. I was
Yeah.
just like, I can't. Like whoever fought him dies. Like that's how it was. It felt like. So
Yeah,
that's
you're not
kinda,
killing anything at that point unless you like
yeah,
triple into score and run.
I couldn't kill anything exactly. So that is weird. But I do think if he had 0 armor, like like it's a bit much. What's
I
tier
think
1?
galley right. Sorry.
So tier. Oh, tier 1 is 0 armor. Oh, this is okay.
Yeah.
So this is the one step above tier 1. Okay.
Yeah. So Gallywix is currently 2 to 5 armor,
Right.
down from 4 to 7. 4 to 7 was absolutely ridiculous for how good the hero is. I would say right now, based on top level play, if all economy pieces are in, this is just people's favorite hero, I think, on average. Now that the armor going down, maybe not, but I don't think it would be too crazy because we played and did just fine. Well, I played and did just fine on this guy with 0 armor right before the armor changes came in. I remember you saying like,
I didn't like him
see."
as much, yeah, with 0 armor.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. I was like,
The margin for error
the
was
margin
very
for
small.
error was too small, yeah. With 7 health, hey, let's
Mm.
go. Let me, let me
That's an
in.
extra turn a lot of the time.
Yeah, pretty much. So I love
Well,
that.
anyways, we don't need to get stuck on that. It's a nerf, and I think that's good. So we'll see if in the future they want to put him tier 1.
Patches also lost an armor as well, which I think is interesting. Like Patches is like a hero that I think isn't bad, and probably one of the funner, minion type heroes, and does really well. Like a lot of the people I talk to love Patches, and I don't love Patches, but I play Patches whenever, and it's okay. It feels okay. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel like I have enough knowledge about this to see if this is impactful. And also losing 1 armor a lot of times it's not like the craziest thing. So even if it's a nerf, it's kind of a negligible nerf as well. So
I'm right there with you. The Patches one, I'm just gonna say I just don't have enough experience to really say is this good, is this bad. The round table experience did expose us to some other opinions, which is cool, right?
I
If you have these
love that. Yeah.
like high level players saying like, well, patches is my jam, then yeah. So
I could be like, you guys are wrong, and then they're like, oh, what? I can't believe you, Collins, you're saying I'm wrong. I can't. I'm about to. But okay, so now that we've talked about all the armor changes, I do want to bring this up, and I want to say I'm scared about this because I feel like the armor, I didn't think about this before, but it gives them another tool to kind of like ignore the patch. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, let's just give them 1 health here, lose a health here. Well, look, we've done like 7 changes. We've done so much work, so much patch, right? Before they had to think, right? They had to like say, okay, if we're nerfing it here, we have to change some numbers here or there. We have to make sure the design is different. We have to make sure it's impactful. Now they can just be like, you know what? Let's just add 1 health. Oh yeah, the hero's balanced now. Let's move on. Like it gives them an excuse essentially to not balance properly, and I'm a little bit scared about that because I can see in the future, right? A big changes, big nerfs or a big patch comes out where a lot of things are different, and then like the next patch, they don't change any of the hero powers or anything or stuff. They're just like, here, they have 5 more armor. Here you go. They have 2 less armor, and they're like, we've done everything. The heroes are balanced out. You know that's not going to change how people play. You know, like Shutterwalk. You know, you look at the stats, right? There's another Shutterwalk, and you're like, well, half people lose. You know, and you're just looking at the top 1% players just like demolishing every lobby every time, and then like the people that are not playing it correctly just lose. You know, just happen to lose, don't play perfectly or whatever, and you're just like, this isn't solving the problem. Oh yeah, they lost 4 armor. Oh and that scares me. You know, that's a preemptive scare, but I think it is something that you should definitely look out for and just definitely hold them accountable for anytime there's changes. You know, just make sure it's not just like armor changes and but make sure they're looking at the heroes, seeing which ones are problematic, which ones do need changes to their hero powers and whatnot, and make sure they're not just relying on the armor introduction to just be like, these are my patches now. So that's the one thing I'm scared about.
Yeah. So overall, the armor system is great.
Yeah. Armor is great. But, I'm just scared.
Yeah. But it introduces the option for them to balance through the armor more than balancing through some more meaningful changes, because it does feel like the armor is really more a band-aid type fix, where, you know, one hero, let's compare a Hook Dusk to a Cariel, where the Hook Dusk, no matter what meta you're in, is going to outperform the Cariel.
Imagine before, like if Hook Dusk came out later, and then instead of changing it from 3 discovers to 2 discovers, they're like, oh, let's just remove some of the armor that they had before. Like, you know, that's like their solution. They just have 3 armor, but like it's still 3 discovers, but they just have 0 armor instead of 5 or whatever they started with. You know, like Scabs, right? Like imagine Scabs with Hook Tusk, right? And instead of making the 3 discover to 2 discover, which is a very smart and very cool and very like effective change, right? But it's something you only discover without armor, because, you know, now Scabs is going from 5 armor to 0 armor, and it's almost like a Hook Tusk level where it's like, you know, like that's Scabs is still going to be playable, still going to be strong, right? Where you could maybe do something different if you didn't have the armor system, that maybe think outside the box. So that's just my fear. They're going to rely on the armor too much, and instead of like thinking about the core principles of making sure that the hero power,
that's a very valid fear. Yeah,
it's fundamentally correct.
Because that's, you know, we talked about the way how they like to nerf and adjust, and they like it to be as clean, simple, straightforward as possible. So nothing Magic the Gathering like wall of text. You know, if it's the 3rd turn after you've played this minion and you have 7 gold remaining, then, you know, like none of that crap. It's a 1 into a 2, a 2 into a 3, right? And then the armor fits that philosophy perfectly, where it's just like, all right, well, down to 0 armor, give this one +5 armor, etc., etc.
So I definitely wanted to talk about that, because I'm very worried, you know, but I somewhat trust. I
am now also worried. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing your worries. I am now also worried.
Sorry, I had to talk about it. You know, when I saw the changes, I was like, this could happen.
Yeah.
So. But moving on, you know, overall the armor changes make sense, you know. But moving on, let's
and are good. I think they're good. It's just the one that's debatable indeed is the galley one,
and the Shutterwalk not being in there.
Well, yeah, of the ones listed, Shutterwalk brand, and then sure there's like a few others.
Yeah, like, the niche. Yeah, Shutterwalk I think is like
the one that stands out.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah, where
double token lobby Shutter with armor. Whew, every time.
Yeah, every time.
Complete nutty.
Yeah.
Just it's almost like if you're not coming in first, you're just like,
what happened? Yeah.
Damn, dang it. I got second, man. I got second. Double token cutter lobby. Like, what the fuck? That's how good it is. That's how good it feels right now. Yeah. All right. Let's move on.
Next thing we are talking about, I believe, are the minion changes. We have prize promo Drake. So it used to be a 5/5, now it's a 3/3. So they took 2/2 stats off of it. kind of interesting. If you have one dragon, it's still a 5/5. And two dragons, it's now a 7/7. For a 4-drop minion, it's still pretty strong. The one thing about this, I don't think it like changes who plays this and why this card is good. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't do it. It does not change how you play the game, I guess, is what I'm saying. And I think that's like a big issue. A lot of the issues with, I think, the 2 minion changes that we have introduced here. It doesn't change how you look at the game, how you play the game, what you talk about, what you think about when you're playing these heroes, right? Like if you have Taragosa and you see a promo Drake, you're not suddenly gonna think, oh, it's a 3/3 now, right? It's like, you're still just taking it. You don't care. It doesn't do anything. So I'm just like, huh.
It's the most likely thing that happens is that, let's say you're not playing Ysera, because if you are playing Ysera, you are just going for these two. No matter what you're doing, you are going for these two. So in a scenario where you are not Ysera, sometimes, and this happens actually somewhat frequently to me when I shoot for 4s and I happen to pull 2 promo drakes, then you're not going to be pulling 2 promo drakes, because the first promo drake you're going to be looking at like, ew, I don't want a 3/3, right? Whereas before it's like, okay, comes in at 5/5, gets the buffs, maybe I pull a second one, and then it's a lot of tempo. So I think in the same way where they turned Big Fernal from a 4/4 into a 6/6, they made Peggy from, I don't know, like a 5/3 into a 6/5 or whatever.
A
Yeah,
5/4 into a 6/5, I think.
yeah, okay. So just, way more tempo when you first acquire them. It's now the reverse thing on the promo Drake, where if you're not Ysera, the chance that you buy the first promo is a lot smaller, which then means you don't have it on your board to then roll into the Taragosa. And same thing with the Big Fernal, where now you buy a 6/6 Big Fernal because it's a 6/6, and you might pick up an Matron and suddenly, oh, I've got some synergy. Whereas before, you'd always roll past the 4/4 Big Fernal, because why would I buy that thing? So I will say that this will probably impact the meta a bit more.
It will. It will
But
impact them.
yeah, but it's mostly a Sarah anyway that's playing this. But sometimes you had the odd person out that just rolled this, right? They rolled promo, they rolled Taragosa, and they just started going. And now that's going to be less common, I think, because I think most people start with the promo Drake. Most people that do well with it on average, at least that's what I would imagine, because promo Drake was good tempo. And then if you see a Taragosa, it makes sense, because an early Taragosa with no synergy is just, it's a 4/4. You don't want that anymore.
Yeah, that's true. I do think this will change the meta, even though I don't like the adjustment. I don't like the design philosophy behind this adjustment. I do think it will impact it, because having a 3/3 minion is not something you want to buy on tier 4, essentially, right? And I mean, I guess it's a 5/5, right? Like it to be fair, right? Because it counts itself, right? So it's a 5/5.
Comes in at roughly a 5/5.
Yeah. I do think a lot of people that don't have any dragons will not just randomly pick this and be like, oh, maybe you can go dragon from here, right? But I think before, you could randomly have a promo Drake and then see like, oh, I'll just see if I hit a Terra or another promo, and then okay. Like I remember winning a game like that. I won a game like that. I just had a promo, and then I found a Taragosa, and I was like, okay, I'll just play that. And then I rolled, and then I just stayed on 4, rolled 2. I rolled another Taragosa, another promo, and then that was my comp. I had like a taunted champion that to keep me alive while my Taragosas were scaling, and I won the game. And I was just like, I can't believe I won the game just running this nonsense.
The thing most people had issues with this combination of cards is that you can find both on tier 4, and you have top tier scaling.
Yeah,
like it rivals, if not outperforms, most tier 6 scaling methods, which is obviously not healthy for the game if you can just find 2 cards and do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this nerf will address that a little bit, but again, it's something that shouldn't really be possible. I feel like the mechanic behind it is something that we'd like adjusted, instead of we're just going to disincentivize you from buying the card altogether, therefore solving the problem. It's kind of similar to the Shutterwalk nerf, where we're not going to do anything about the fact that Shutterwalk can spam tokens and make 6 drops and 4 drops. We're just going to make it riskier for you now because you have less gold to roll for it.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here. We're just going to make it riskier by having the promo drug.
Another issue is like if you do find Terragosa promo in like the same shop, nothing changes, right? It's the same comp, same scaling. Like you do the same thing. You don't care. Oh, I lost 2 health on my promo. Like sure, I'm not gonna hit them for 15 sometimes. Like in the early game, on in late game it doesn't matter. But yeah, like it's the same. It's the same board. So you haven't nerfed the scaling or any of that stuff. It's just as strong as it can be. You just in the early game have some weakness if you get the nuts. Like if you just hit both of them at the same time. So it doesn't solve like the issue. Like I do think the card is problematic, and like what you said, right? You're getting top tier scaling on tier 4 with like no real downside if you hit it early. So it's like kind of weird that this is the nerf. I heard someone talk about just don't include itself in the buff. Like keep the 5/5 stat line, but like you need a dragon to get the scaling. You need another dragon to get the initial buff, and then like you also remove the high roll scaling.
That hurts the Terragosa quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we have up to 3 promo drakes on the same board.
So it's gonna take a longer time for them to have like that 200 dragon.
That could be an elegant that could be an elegant way to at least test the waters and see if those numbers make sense.
Yeah, so
not like that.
Yeah, it wasn't my idea, So, no. But I thought it was a good idea, yeah. So I just wanted to mention.
Feedback is a good thing, right? You can look at it. And,
but yeah, I mean,
the same thing with Maxna stuff.
Yeah, make it a battle cry.
Yeah, I thought it was very elegant. It's like something that I probably wouldn't have thought of on my own.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a change and it's an impactful change, but is it? The design wise, do I like the change? No, but
yeah, but I mean, this is essentially the tweet, the tweet or the Twitch message,
the Twitch message, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So it's more obscure than you thought. It's not some random tweet that I have to find. It's a screenshot of a message in a Twitch chat, which then got tweeted, right? So it's very, very specific. This is not included in the patch notes. So once again, for most people looking at the patch, they're not going to have the context, and the context is that they didn't feel safe to do anything honestly significant, right? They said we only felt safe with changing some numbers right now. We didn't have time to make more significant changes. We didn't want to make any substantial BGs nerf because we have a big content drop coming soon-ish. So, I mean, very specific as per usual, of course. But, I mean, that's not Korra's fault, of course. But then it does feel like they kind of give themselves a pass, being like, yeah, the patch isn't going to be good. There you go. That's that. You can't complain. You can't really complain about a bad patch because we said it wasn't going to be good. Yeah. So once again, 2 ways of interpreting that, right? You could say, well, yeah, light spawn, and we're going to be talking about light spawn in just a minute. It's going to be the fun part. Light spawn and promo drake nerfed, but not really, right? So yeah, I feel like maybe more harm than good actually with just doing the patch at all, instead of just maybe making a statement where, like we acknowledge that these cards are problematic and we will be having a big overhaul or whatever they're going to be doing when they say a big content drop, and we want to resolve that at the same time, which either the meta gets changed so the cards aren't problematic anymore, I don't know, or we're changing them at the same time. But the more I look at it, the more you look at this patch and be like, maybe the patch was just a mistake where they should have done armor changes only, and like the hero changes. But the minion changes do
so
really
bad, yeah.
They send such a bad signal, I think, because once again, without the context, it's just like you have this feeling of you have absolutely no idea what is going on in the game. Yeah, but whatever. It's
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, it is what it is, but
yeah, the preface is there is like we didn't have time to make a good patch essentially, or a significant impact for the patch.
yeah. So
All right,
promo,
well,
it's still going to be played the same. I mean, that's both of the minions, and then
yeah,
the main one is Light Spawn. This is the big offender, I think. They
yeah.
haven't touched Prester, and I would touch Prester as well,
So
but
I
whatever.
think Prester is a lot less frustrating to
Bec-
me now, just
bec-
because I'm not playing any mech.
True,
Right.
right, but
So
it's
I'm
still
not getting
problematic.
Prester. It's still dumb. It's
It's
still
yeah, it's
dumb, but
still
I'm not getting
problematically a
Prester.
bad like weird card and how it
Yeah,
functions.
you just get caught off guard with it sometimes, where your dong gets like absolutely destroyed
Yeah,
by
it's
your
they have double golden divine shield dong, and then they play a Prester, and then they're like, I win.
yeah
That's that's how
yeah.
it is. It's still
Or
problematic.
they just have a Taragosa that is already shielded by the Medina, which then value trades your poison divine shield amalgadon because they have a Prester. So that's also dumb. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways,
but whatever. Like,
light spawn.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, there's no shortage of memes in the Twitch chat where like, why are you buying that card? This card is nerfed. Light spawn is just like it's a 2/5 now. It's bad, right? So you do exactly the same thing as before. There is way less impact here than I think with Promodrake. With Promodrake,
yeah.
you would shy away from buying Promodrake early. You do not shy away from tripling into Lightspawn at all. You do not shy away from buying Lightspawn. You get Avenge friendly minions. You get Acolyte. You get Icky Imp. You triple into a light spawn. You buy more light spawn. You buy more light spawn. Then you buy some more light spawn, and
Yeah.
like it's very 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 good. And it's once again it's these two minions, right, that enable tier 4 scaling that rivals, if not outperforms, tier 5 tier 6 scaling. And this
Someone
is why the meta, yeah,
some would
go ahead.
argue that the demon one is also the same par. Like that's what they were talking about. You weren't there. Oh, you weren't
Mm.
there. But they were
No, I
they were
left early, but
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Some
Doom
are,
Slayer, it's really good.
yeah.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, so I guess we'll talk about it because that's in the topics. But
Sure.
we're focusing on light spawn right now, and this nerf makes me sad because it sends all the wrong messages. I think in every way, like they're saying they've nerfed the card, but they haven't. They don't touch it. This is like the most problematic minion, right? If you were to get a change right, this is the one you should focus all your resources on making sure this is the right adjustment. And this just it's so wrong because they did change it, but it doesn't change how you look at the card, how you play the card, how you think about the card, if the card works in every situation. You would do exactly the same with a nerf. Like I can't even really call it a nerf. Like it is a nerf, but it's not because it doesn't change anything about what makes the card good, what makes the card strong, how you play it, how you look for it. It doesn't do anything. So it just says, to a lot of the competitive players, the top players are looking at, okay, this is a problematic card in this meta. Like if I was to name a card, it'd be Lightspawn. Let's see what they have in store for us. These are our great developers here. They have all the resources. They have all the stats. They know what they're doing. Here we go. Let's read the patch notes. I can't wait to see what they're gonna do. Let's see. Okay, they got a nice Lightspawn there. Yes, they figured it out. Okay, let's read it. And then it's like, what is this? What is going on? You just start raging. It's like this doesn't make sense because you just know this, and it's the holidays, so things aren't changing anytime soon, so you just know here's another month of light spawn, or well, hopefully it's not another month, but here's like another 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks or more. Of light spawn madness, light spawn meta. Meta's not cheating. I don't think the meta's bad, anyways, right? But still, it'd be nice to have like a little small nerf, or even if you're not going to be like big nerfs, a small nerf to light spawn. Make sure it's like let's give them a little bit of a understanding. Like, yeah, we don't know how to solve it cleanly, but we understand that light spawn's a problem. Let's make it a little bit worse. There's so many like unplayable minions in most situations, I guess. You know, if I'm going to be honest, right? There's so many minions where in like 80-70% of situations, you just can't take them because they'll kill you. You spend 3 gold to buy this minion, you'll die, right? And Light Spawn is one of those cards where in like, it's hitting like, 80%, maybe that's too high, but like, well, I the way we're playing the game, it's like 90. The way we're playing the game, it's like 90%. Where every time you see it, it works well. And that's very weird. Yeah. It's so strong. You play for it. Yeah.
Well, just Avenge in general,
Yeah,
right? That's what Light Spawn has going in its favor. If it was just Light Spawn, the card would be worse because your board wouldn't always look very Avenge friendly, but because so many of the Avenge cards are so incrably impactful.
All on 4.
Well, Croc as well. And
but
stuff,
Croc, Toadie. But you're looking for the 4s.
Yes, so the ones you're tripling into are 4s, and because they're all top tier, your board is going to look like a board that can use those cards. You're very, if you're an experienced player in this meta, you're very consciously grabbing the Icky Imp over the Chroma Wing. You're grabbing the Acolytes, sometimes over a token, because you're just like, nope, Acolyte's more important. Got to make sure I can use my Avenge cards when I hit them. And it just means that when you do see this card, sometimes 3-4 turns later than you would have tripled into, you buy it and you still get
win. Yeah, I know. It's so stupid.
Those are the ones that really stand out to me when you get it on 7 gold normally. Let's say we're now on 10 gold. If you find one or even like 2, like with 2, you're just like, oh, I've caught up.
Yeah, you're done.
Fine.
You're there. Yeah.
If you find one and you find the other one the turn after that, you're fine most of the time. And it's that I didn't realize, like, just how stupid the card was. As I was getting more comfortable with it, there's just so many times where you can just hard force it. Just buy it and be like, all right, especially if you've been strong and your health is fine. If you're 12 HP, we're talking a little bit of a different game here. If you're 30 health at 10 gold, you're still buying those Light Spawns.
Yeah. It overall it just makes me sad, right? Because it's just like,
well, let's first, for anyone listening, be like, but what did they do to the card?
Yeah, we haven't talked about the change.
It's a 2/5 now instead of a 4/5.
Yeah, they reduced 2 health on it. Same stats, same level, same everything.
Has 0 impact on the scaling, 0 impact on the survivability of the card.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not going to finish off something that I would have killed.
That's the only difference.
Yeah. So like that's the part where you might take 3 extra face damage.
And the issue is like, okay, you buy a second Light Spawn and every issue is gone, right? You now have like a 6/9 or whatever. Like who cares if it's
just a Smogger.
Right? Or Smogger, or Smogger, or
the amount of times I've just like played a Smogger on this 2/5 and I'm like, stat line's actually pretty good now.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's got 5 base health, so those bodies are perfect to give +4/+4.
Yeah, there's so many ways that this change is irrelevant, and it's the most impactful card in the meta, I think. So
it is by far the most impactful card in the meta, and the change does exactly 0 to how you're playing it. It doesn't do exactly 0 to the win rate of the card because you're always hitting it. However, slightly, right? Like that one person that takes extra damage on that turn and then dies, sure, that affects the win rate. But it is not a significant change, and it does absolutely 0 for how you play the card. Yeah. Like if they turn this into a 4/3, now we're maybe talking where if you don't have an Acolyte, you start thinking, oh man.
Yeah, you get just jugglers. Yeah,
it dies to a juggler, or just like it dies to a sewer rat that attacks into it, and I don't have Acolytes because right now you play this card every time. Yeah.
The problem with that change though, it makes the card so toxic, right? Because then you hit the nuts and you're like, I just win. It's the same, right? And then or you broken, so, or you just get jugglered and then like there's all my scaling. Oh no, I can't believe this. Like you would just make people angry, I guess, if you made that
Enraged
change.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would just be frustrating to play with or and against, and that's not a cure a minion you want where you're
No, no,
angry when you're playing with it and you're angry when you're playing against it. Yeah, so yeah,
man.
it's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, the change that came to mind for me was, and of course you need to see how this works with the number of fours and fives, but it feels like this
Make it a
belongs on
5, right?
five.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
up the stats and make it a 5. So make it like a 5/6
But
or
then,
something.
but then, is that going to be a problem where there's too many fives? Where does something need to move down to four? Do
I
they
don't
need to
know.
remove something? That's the stuff, obviously, where I want to fully admit, like, I don't know, and it might not be as easy as just make it a five forehead.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I talked about this with Sapphire when the patch dropped, and he was saying like they don't have two minions on the same tier that do the same thing, and I was like, that's not true. Like,
Mama
yeah,
Croc,
Mama
bam.
Croc,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
two tempo
yeah,
beast things, like,
yeah,
bam, get out
yeah,
of here.
yeah, and like Flat
Yeah,
Tusk Chaga like kind of have that same
yeah. So
function too.
that's
You could even argue the 2/4 Quillbore and the 3/3 Quillbore, like they give you a jump return if you have Quillbore stuff. Like it's kind of the same. Like it's this one's that's more of a stretch, but I feel like
yeah.
there's enough
I like
examples.
Light Fang Mithrax, right?
Yeah,
Your
yeah,
your
yeah,
five
that's
drop
true.
menagerie
Yeah, yeah.
enablers. So
So
there's absolutely cards on the same tier that
yeah,
do
yeah,
the
yeah,
same.
yeah. I didn't agree with that point for sure, but I do think you could move it. Like I'm okay with that, right? You either change the avenge structure. You could make it avenge 4 and then double make it 2/2, right? Like where it's like it
Mm,
doesn't proc consistently. It's like very similar, samey, but it doesn't. You lose like half a proc. You know what I mean? Like because you have to proc every 4 times instead of every 2 times. Right? It's a weird adjustment, but it is
yeah,
impactful.
you lose a lot more than that, though, right? Because there's so many rounds where you're gonna be stuck on three
Yeah,
out of
but
four. Or
it's a nerf though. I like it,
yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
it's get
It's a
get,
nerf, right?
get slap him. I don't care.
I just want to take him out back and be like, all right, Light Spawn, you've
it,
been
it, it,
strong
it,
enough for long enough.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do think people are still gonna play it even with like it's like because they're
They
gonna look at
try it,
him.
for sure.
They're gonna look at it and be like, it's the same. It's the
Yeah,
same. Yeah.
it's the same
I know,
copium.
I
Yeah.
know, I know the truth.
Still the same card
Yeah,
copium.
I know
Yeah.
the truth. Yeah, so that's another way I would look at it. But also moving it to 5 would also be okay with as well. So there are
So
some things you can do.
yeah, the avenge. No, so my idea with moving it to five, and maybe that requires just a little bit more of a bigger overhaul, is that I just think the structure of the fours versus fives is off right now,
Right,
which is weird because when we talk about it like that, it feels like there is this big fundamental problem and the meta should be like awful or something. But no, I mean the meta feels pretty fun and rewarding
right.
and like not really like, oh, there's very little I can do with my skill as a player. No, it feels like you can do plenty with your skill as a player. But it is such a weird thing that tier two is just so unbelievably undesirable, and you just really don't want to triple into fives in so many games. There's obviously exceptions. Beast lobbies, sometimes you're going to triple into a Mama or a Croc. You're a Jandis, you can use Mama Bear. You're a Reno, you can Hero Power Hogger. But like the vast majority of times, you're going to triple into a four instead of a five. And that is just a little bit of a, it's not even something that you're really going to think about. And in some boards, you're going to triple into a four and then level to four
Yeah, I
after
was
you've
going to
played
I
your.
was going to say that there are some games where I have the
Yeah,
option of getting a 4 and a 5. No cost to
that's the
me. I'm
worst
just like
thing.
I'll just
Yeah,
take
yeah,
the
yeah.
4. Like
Like,
it's
you're not going
so
to take extra damage. It will not cost you extra money. It's not going to cost you any rolls. You can literally just level, play your token or whatever you tripled, and you still take the four and then level. It's just like, has that
that
happened
feels
before?
fundamentally wrong, right? Like
Yes, that
yeah.
feels like then you have a problem, I think, when you're somewhat consistently opting for the lower tier discovery. Like, I feel like then we have a bit of a problem. So, and this was my main argument for making it a five, where if we introduce some more goodies on five, people will take the chance again, and it's just that alone is going to change the way how the game is played a bit more, because then you're going to see more Mithrexes, you're going to see more Light Fangs, you're going to see more brands, because right now the game is very, very like homogenous, almost, I would say, where people stick very much in like, oh, I have my demon comp with my Doomsayer, I have my elemental comp with my light spawn. You don't see these mishmash builds with Lightfang and Bran.
I
For
do it
example.
sometimes, but I guess I'm a little bit weird in that aspect. So I don't. My comment isn't
Sure.
necessary. Who cares?
Yeah, I was gonna say like I do
Yeah,
the same thing, but
yeah.
it's just on the way to 6, right? Like you still throw that Lightfang sucker out the first chance you get
True.
for
That's
some
true. That's
Argonauts,
true.
right? So, yeah.
It's very true. But
Uh,
I guess overall, this change makes me sad. Is like the nicest way I can put it, right? And the worst way you can say like the developers don't understand why this card's a problem, or they don't understand like they haven't played the game, I guess, and see why this card is a problem and what to do about it, or so. But generally,
well,
I don't know. It's just a weird change, and I do agree. You did say like it's one of those things where maybe this nerf is not is not, you shouldn't have even made any of the minion nerfs because it sends the wrong message. This definitely sends the wrong message, I would say.
I think so. I think the combination of the, I guess, unfortunate changes and the fact that it was not communicated with the patch note or in any visible spot, like, hey, we know that this doesn't really solve the problem. We just thought that we do something instead of nothing. And if that is included as a message, I think you're
Right.
going to have a lot of players that go like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
that's
because
very true.
right now the perception is you guys don't know what you're doing, right? And we don't want that either, right? Like we don't want to have this animosity between players, developers. Who there's no need for that, but it does feel like you're just needlessly making this you're making this picture by not including that data, right? You're saying like, okay, this is the light spawn nerf, bum, no additional information.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So sometimes with the patches, right? But after a change, they do a lot with the constructed changes, right? They'll talk about their philosophy behind the changes. They'll be
yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, we dev comment. Let me look at there's one for Wildfire. This is a minor reworks at Wildfire. Yeah, they have like little comments after the changes just to like explain why, and stuff like that. And I think that would be so helpful for Battlegrounds, like to have dev comments on some of these adjustments,
Yeah.
just to see what they're thinking about, just so they'd be like, okay, at least they're looking at it from this perspective, or what. But with a lot of the background changes, it's just like, here you go. Here are all the changes. Be happy. And it's, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I do think that would be really helpful,
Yeah.
just to help, and it's very doable. They do it already for a lot of the constructor cards. So like, it's there's no like excuse.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
there is going to be a train of thought, of course, right? It's just need to include it. Yeah.
Anyways, let's move on from this. I'm tired of
Yeah,
talking about,
we've been here for long enough. We've
uh,
beaten this dead horse, but yeah, for anyone wondering, Lightspawn did not really get nerfed, and you should still very much play it.
all right, next big topic I believe is the lobby legends. So yes, there was some announcements, quote unquote, for the new 2022 season of Hearthstone esports, and there was a battleground section. Finally, I would say it's been too long. Battlegrounds
Yeah,
has been
it's
here for
very
years, right? Like, what's going
mhm.
on? So, um, definitely like that this is included. Um, I mean, I can read it out, especially for the non things, but generally distinct from the constructing credit ecosystem, they're announced to introduce Battlegrounds competitive throughout 2022. Players will be competing for a share of 500,000 USD across multiple one-off events. So it's an opportunity to fully explore what works best. So this isn't finalized, but they're definitely excited to have new ways to have fun with broadcasters each year. Lobby Legends will be a global event, so it's going to be featuring top ladder players from America Pacific, Asia Pacific, Europe, and China. Day one will feature group play, and so there's going to be 2 days of playoffs. So that's another interesting like tidbit they've put in there. So they have details on specific events, days, and qualifying schedules in the coming months. So um, a lot of this, to me, if I'm gonna start off, a lot of this feels like breadcrumbs of information, like where it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna have this, it's gonna be featuring this, da 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 da, right? But then you read all of it and think, okay, what am I supposed to do? I have no idea. Like I don't know. what am I supposed to do to get in this? I have no clue. Oh, just play the ladder, and then just like, what am I aiming for? I have no I have no idea. So it's just like I don't have the information to really know what to do here. There's just not enough information. I'm glad they have announced it, so there's no excuse. You can't be like, we forgot. It's there. But as a competitor, as a player, to look at this and say, okay, something's happening. What do? I don't know. I have no clue, and that's an issue, I think. So I need more information. That's my point.
You've seen the clarification about this on Twitter?
No, and where? Okay, so it should be in the post. I know Celissa once again is doing a lot of reporting.
She does the poke and she does the prodding.
She has said that it's going to be only MMR based, right? Like for the invites, it's not like streamer invites or stuff. So it's going to be MMR based. I don't know. Cool. Yeah, that is really cool. I don't know how many players are going in. Is it like top 4? Is it top 8? Top 16?
So there are going to be 4 players per region in that top 16 because it's going to be a 16-player group. But I believe, once again, like 100% sure on this, that the way how that is decided isn't disclosed yet. So that could be the top 4 players per region that just qualify, but it could also be, I don't know, 16 players per region that then play in their own qualifier, and then the top 4 move on. So I'm not really sure. I mean, that could be top 32 or whatnot.
Yeah.
But it comes down to the same thing every time, that you're going to have 4 players from EU, NA, Asia Pacific, and China in the final 16. Whether that is just, we take the top 4 from every region, or we let them play a qualifier amongst themselves. That's going to be the structure. You're going to have those 16 players duking it out, and then the 500 grand is going to be divided across many, well, not many, but maybe many, but they didn't say many. So 500 grand divided among different events. So not 500 grand for one event. That'd be a little crazy, I guess.
I mean, if it was like an invitational, 500 grand, I'll take it. But I agree. I think it's better to have multiple one-off events than to have like a one big invitational style thing, because I do think more games is better, and I think the players that want to play don't like. This is enough of it. Well, hey, don't say that. I think this is enough of an incentive. Don't do that to yourself. Yeah, this is enough of an incentive.
Like, a main source of income.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but generally,
you get to play, right?
Yeah, I would be scared or be worried if it was just like top 4 from every region. That's the only people invited, because that's
very cutthroat.
Yeah, it cuts out so many like good players, fun, like skilled players, right? Like top 4, and especially with the way rank works right now, especially if you're a streamer, there's a lot of like drawbacks to streaming your content. Yes. It's pretty bad. And if you need to go top 4, right? A lot of like heavy grinders, even if they are streamers, might be like, you know what? Let me cut my stream off. Let me just stream offline, because it's a lot better. I think
we would see. So some players are just that insane, right? Like right now, Beater Babbitt did like this.
Yeah.
I don't know, like 15 or whatever.
I played against him yesterday, and I thought he was going to get 8th, and he didn't. Just kept going. Yeah, he didn't get 8th, and I was like, okay, good for you. Yeah, but
like he just did this like marathon stream to getting first on an A. XQN is just, you get casually reclaims rank 1 on EU and be like, all right, let me play a little bit more on an A, where I'm also in the top 10, right? Like technically could qualify for both regions if it's just top 4. So
that in itself is a problem, right? Because you have this huge target on your head, like, hey,
Yes.
Anytime you're
So
in the lobby, it's just like, oh, this guy's
that's where I
streaming
was
too.
that's where I was coming through.
Okay.
Is like I think even XQN would do more off-stream play. And only stream if he'd be feeling very confident, or just say, "I stream my NA games and not my
Yeah, or
EU games."
something like
I
that.
don't yeah, I don't know, of course, how much he's gonna value that competitive aspect, or if he's just like, "I'm so much of a badass, I don't give a shit, so just go snipe me all you want, motherfucker." It's just, it's not gonna stop.
I've done that before, and it's not fun. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah, so we'd have to see what kind of an impact it has, of course. But yeah, like whenever you introduce an incentive, there is going to be way more competition and it's going to be more vicious. Where if you stream, you're going to get sniped for sure. And luckily in BGs, a lot of the time it doesn't really matter. But anytime you're in a 1v1 situation,
it
it,
does matter. Like the
it does matter. But if you get sniped and constructed, you
yeah, it's
are
so worse. It's so much worse.
screwed,
Yeah.
right? They know exactly what you're gonna do, what turn you're gonna do it. Essentially, only your top deck is protected.
Yeah.
You'd have to like block out your hand and this and that. In BGs, like there's a good chance you don't fight the sniper until there's a point where like maybe they can screw you over a little bit with positioning or buy a poison or this or that. But we're talking more about those top 4, top 2 situations
Yeah,
where
but the other thing you have to realize is they also get double knowledge, right? Like that's another big advantage that they
you have
would
to see
have.
what your opponent
Yeah,
had or
also
something.
has, right? So they would know, oh, this is what, like you basically know exactly what
Yeah, so
everyone's
they
running.
have
Yeah,
yeah
and
they
that's a
have
huge
unfair
advantage as well. So
yeah.
it's not that simple of, oh yeah, it doesn't really matter. It does matter, right? It's just like it's hidden value, right? It's not like I'm just sniping your whole board or something like that. It also gives them so much information how to
Yeah.
play around these kind of things.
So that's definitely some stuff that'll be a little scary. But overall, great, right? Overall, great. I love that it's MMR based and that it's not just going to be like, "Hey, Crip, you wanna
Hey,
you wanna play?"
don't bash on Crip. Crip's great play.
I'm not bashing on
I
him. The
did
guy's great,
I
but
hear this too much.
he get invited. Like, and like he's not really top 5 leaderboard right now, is he? So like once again, the guy's an amazing content creator, and like when we played in arena, he was a complete badass, right? But he's not playing as competitive now, and I think that would be a problem for the community if it was just like, oh, we're just gonna invite all the big streamers, right? Because like I feel like that's something that they really crave for. They have their champions and they want to see them really, like who's the best. We want to see them take on the like. I would love to watch that, right? Like put
It's
our
Twitch rivals basically. What is
yeah
it?
yeah
Yeah, it's
yeah yeah like
basically. I mean, Twitch rivals had
like
like
let,
everyone was
let's say
stacked.
let's say I don't qualify. That's an event I really want to watch, like Europe's 4 best versus NA's 4 best
We've seen
versus
that. We've seen that
Asia
already. We've
Pacific.
seen that. Already.
No.
I know. It's a joke. I wanted to. I could do that.
Yeah, you can do that. Basically, just our best, right?
I love your face there. You're like, I wasn't in there.
Anyways, let's get back on track. So yeah, overall, I love the fact that it's going to be MMR based, but it's going to bring problems with it,
Right.
especially for streamers. But I think that's okay. I think you're not necessarily like both a competitor and a streamer. I think that we can absolutely try, and I'm definitely going to try because I think it's also good content. But in the end of the day, I'm not going to be like, all right, guys, I'm going to play off stream for the next 3 days because I got to farm some MMR. So
Now I
yeah,
would do that. So I guess that's a little bit different. Like I don't care.
yeah,
Like screw
I might do
the
that.
chat.
I mean, honestly, if you're close enough, then maybe just like a delay or something is enough where you get the stream.
Yeah, I guess if you're close enough, like it's fine, right? Like you just have a
yeah. Who knows? Maybe I get close enough, and I'm just like, all right, chat, and a
sorry
little
about
bit of
that.
delay right here.
But generally, I do hope it's less cutthroat than that. Like, since they're saying there's gonna be 2 days of play, it'd be really weird to just have like 16 people over 2 days of play, and then just like, yeah, this is
maybe
it.
the qualifier
Yeah.
into the top 16.
Yeah. So, and I think that would, like, if it's so cutthroat, you're also going to discourage some great players of actually playing just because they feel like, the chance is so low. I don't have the time to do all that. So I do hope that it's a little bit bigger. Because I mean, just being good enough to like get top four doesn't necessarily mean you're the best. I think this a lot. Like skill in this game is very like interesting, and ladder play is not tournament play, right? Like the people that do well on ladder doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate to tournament really well. Like you've seen time and time, like the same people just dominating tournaments, right? And like, oh yeah, they're really good at analyzing what's strong for tournaments,
for sure.
right? So I do think if it's a bigger group of people, right, you have the qualifiers, and you can just see like, oh, these people just dominating the qualifiers, even
it's a lot of the like really really high rank. It's just like all great players, and the people that can devote more time to the game just have an additional chance of being able to grind it out. Now, taking nothing away, right, from top 1, top 2, top 10 ranked players, and taking nothing away from them, but time is a factor. So
yeah. So once again, I still think there are breadcrumbs here. I still need more information, but definitely going to be looking at my rank next reset and looking at it more seriously. Like I've not been caring about that for months now, so maybe you'll see me grind a little bit this next season, and might be a little surprised. Or if you know me, you won't be. But
that'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun.
Fun is not probably the word I would
Collins
use.
Unleashed. Let's go.
I don't know if unleashes would be the right word too, right? Like maybe tournament setting, right? Like if I make it, and then then I'll maybe. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, regardless, let's move on. I do like it, the announcements. I'm happy it's there, and I'm glad to see them changing stuff. I will shout out they're removing GM. A lot of people love that. Hey, good for you. I don't really care because I never. I think next thing we're talking about will be the roundtable. So there was another roundtable this week. We kind of discussed the minions, right? I believe we discussed the minion tiers, and I wanted to quickly. We're kind of getting going long on this podcast already, right?
Yeah. Let's do this one brief and then call it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think that's fair. Yeah. So we'll just kind of go through just the tiers. I was gonna use my tier list, but I decided to take Sunglass tier list because I'm like, if I use my tier list, it's gonna be like, I'm gonna agree with it. So kind of just have like what.
This tier list is perfect.
Yeah. Kind of just has what overall the community did. There's some things I thought were a little bit interesting, but generally, the tier 1 minions, like I think we should always talk about the S tier stuff, and then the rest of it is like a little bit more situational. But they had Gambler S tier, and then Imprisoner S tier, and then Sewer Rat S tier, right?
You're starting tier 2, or?
Oh, this is tier 2. You're right. Whoopsie. Okay. My bad. There is tier 1 minions. That's true. All right. How did I not catch that, dude? How did I not catch that? Holy moly. Okay. For tier 1, they had all the tokens except for Swabby. I guess I think Swabby kind of counts as a token, but whatever. They had all so Murloc Tidehunter, Elemental, Celemental, Water Drop, Celemental, and then Alley Cat as the tier S minions. I think this makes sense, to be fair. The one thing I would wanted to argue, I wanted to put Acolyte S too. Like that would be my one thing if I made my own. I would also put Acolyte in there because I think it's so important to how this whole meta works, how this whole functions. Like Acolyte, having an Acolyte and not having an Acolyte, right, it is game changing, and that I feel like that deserves an S tier treatment, right? It's not the it's not the token abuse and stuff like that, but there's a lot of heroes where I'm just looking at it, I see an Acolyte and a token, I'm taking the Acolyte every time, like Reform and stuff like that. I'm just taking the Acolyte, right? And it's like, how is that not as good as how is the fact that I see both, I would take the Acolyte, how is that not S for me?
I think there's just this weird thing where I don't think you can really make minion tier lists without having some very, very strict criteria as to how you're looking at them. and we never got to that in the round
And
table.
I don't think we ever will. Well,
And
maybe we
I'm
will,
okay.
but
The
it'd
thing
be
is, like, I'm okay with that because, like, as was said in my chat as well, like, it's more like a vehicle to get to some good insights because it's going to spark debate, discussion. People are going to give their 2 cents about a minion, and you're like, okay, that's some stuff that I might over or
sure.
undervalue.
That's true.
That's cool. But I think to put the tier list out, because if you're gonna take everything into consideration, you're like, well, like Shudderwalk, like Alley Cat and Murloc Titan is gonna be really good. And if you're Jandis and if you have Khadgar. So I do agree for the most part that Alley Cat and Tidehunter are sort of on a different level. I wouldn't put them like necessarily next to Elemental just because of how silly, like Bran and Mama Bear and blah 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 blah. But if we're strictly talking, we're looking at their application on tier 1, then yeah, I mean it's basically the same.
I mean,
Sally is also
there's some argument that Elemental's better than the tokens.
yeah, I mean,
The
but I think there's more
flexibility.
arguments. I think there's more arguments in favor of the other ones, which is
All right,
you can
that's
triple
fair.
the
That's fair.
yeah. So the amount of bullshit you can do with the other ones is crazy. So I think it's more like cool to just look at it and say, okay, these were some points. So some stuff when I look at this, I think Micro Mummy, as good as I think the card is, I don't think it's quite as good as Acolyte Weaver and
Really?
Ikea.
I'm
So
okay with the
I
Micro
do
Mummy.
love Micro Mummy, but it's not even close when it's next to an Acolyte or a Nicky Imp for me. And that's
Sure,
the
yeah,
thing.
that's fair, right? But
Yeah.
it if I get a Micro Mummy, I'm not sad. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I mean,
it's not a problem. You get two of them and you
yeah,
get scaling permanently. And it's like in the Avenged meta, right? It's it maybe falls short, right, versus Acolyte and
yeah,
Icky Imp. But if you're not doing Avenge stuff and you're like once again playing Reform again, I played a lot of Reform,
yeah. But the
like
thing is, like, that's almost not
the
really in
but
my
okay,
consideration
well,
because
in my
I'm
games, right, I'm
yeah,
not always forcing Avenge. A lot of games I am, right? But like, there are some games where I'm just like, okay, I will, I'll do some. I mean, I don't Jeeve that much, but like, I'll maybe Reform curve. That's why I use Reform, right? Because it's curve,
yeah.
right? And I'll just take two. I'll take two.
No,
Things, and it's
I
okay.
think
And
it's good. Sure.
I just think it's better than the others on B. Like, you're not gonna put it
I
on
think
B,
I think I just play such an insane amount of tier 1 curve
right? Yeah,
that
yeah,
my perception is warped by that.
yeah.
Like
I have the
more
balanced approach
easily,
somewhat.
yeah, easily more than half my games are tier 1 curve, and I'm probably maybe 75% if not more. So it's just something I do over and over and over, which
if
is
if
there's a chat, there's a
elementals
question.
demons are in tier 1, like that's
Yeah.
and that's more than 75%, probably. So there you go.
But here the hero pick a little bit as well. But yeah, sometimes
You'll
I'll
make it
play it.
work.
Yeah, non-hero power and be like, if my shops are good, I'm staying tier 1. And there was a question about Weaver being up so high, and Weaver, just think about it. It's a 1 drop where you play 1 demon. It's a 3/5 already.
You play two
That's really
demons, it's a 5/7. That's better than
yeah,
most threes or
and
fours even.
it's something that you just take with you for potentially the whole game.
Yeah,
If you triple this is going to be a 40-40, 50-50, 60-60 with
yeah.
a Nonganis. Like it's yeah,
what
it's a very very good 1 drop.
what other tier 1 can you like legitimately win the lobby with a golden
Yeah, you
version
just
of
stay on
it?
your boards all
Like
the
maybe
time.
Chroma Wing, but you're stretching that. I'm not really giving it to
Yeah, trickster would
you.
be the
Okay,
other one,
tricks. I
and then
guess, but
trickster
that
you can
one's
play with
more niche.
a lot more work,
Yeah,
a lot more.
yeah. Than the one. So I think that one. I'm pretty happy with the tier list, right? The only one was like Acolyte, but I
Yeah, so
understand Acolyte and
yeah.
A, so I'm not like I don't have a problem. I didn't argue it. I just
I think Hyena in D is just
oh
like,
yes,
well,
that was the other one. You're right. That
yeah,
was the other one I had a problem with. I was like, is that
like
hi? You're
that's a C at the very least, right?
I,
Like Chroma Wing over Hyena to me is criminal.
I was like, you're disrespecting the alley cat power spike, and
It's
people.
funny, like we did this months ago, right? Where I'm like, trust me, Collins, take Hyena, it's so good. They still have to do it. Let them learn it at their own
Yeah.
pace. Right?
There's been a couple of games like I just run a double hyena or something. I'm like, yeah, I saved like 9 health this game because I had this, and you triple it
Yeah,
too, right? It's like it's perfectly fine. Like
yeah.
I don't know.
Hyena pairs.
Yeah,
Hyena pair is super solid.
yeah,
Hyena pair plus alley cat is straight up really good.
yeah.
So,
So
all right. I think we're good to move up
yeah, let's move
here.
on.
But for the most part, yeah. For the
Yeah,
most, I mean,
I'm
most
ha-
of these are going to
yeah,
be good, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
a lot of really incredible players.
yeah. So tier two, tier S we've got Gambler, Imprisoner, and Sewer Rat. And tier A we've got like the Quillbore pieces and
Or package,
Spawn.
Starless.
Yeah, some scaling in the Sorless, right? Like the weird they have D tier. They have Murloc bad, but where's the other Murloc? Wait, where is? Oh, it's
War
not even in
leader.
the.
Yeah, she might have left that one out.
Yeah, War Leader and Murkai.
Honcho. Oh, Murkai
Yeah,
War
yeah,
leader Honcho.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had all
Oops.
the Murlocs there in that, but apparently it's been left out. But I think they all belong in there. As we talked, you were here, right? I talked about how
Yeah,
a lot of it's bait,
I
like
was
the
I was here for everything up to tier
up the
4. Tier 5, I wasn't there for.
yeah. So yeah, I do think the Murlocs like they're not bad cards, but they bait you into playing in a weird
Yeah,
style that causes you to lose more than you win. So
that's
that's the
something
issue.
that happens where you just like every step of the way made sense, and the
And
board you end up with
is
makes no
is
sense.
horrible. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, well, I guess this Cold Light Seer is the best card in the shop, right?
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
when you're saying that to yourself, you know you're in trouble, right?
yeah, it's a bit sad. You have to like
That's
force
trouble right there.
force the triple into something
Yeah.
manageable. Yeah, and then they have the two tech cards in and I agree with the tech cards. I think the tech cards are fine
Yeah, ghouls, selfless are tough to rate, right? Because they can be the best to drop in a game,
or the
but
worst.
you hit them in the early game, you don't want to see them at all.
Yeah. I do think the S is interesting, right? Like they made some arguments that like there should be another tier just for gambler.
Yeah,
Like yeah, and
I
I agree with
I
that.
could agree.
I
Yeah, gamblers just
it's
the
just way
ones you
better
really because you might be a newer player and you'd be like, really, why is gambler such a good two drop? And just the option that you can buy it and it's a 3/3 and that's okay-ish. It can hold its own on tier 2. But then 2 turns later, you can be on tier 4 and exchange that for like a good avenge minion or like a bonker. That's just so incredibly powerful that you can, instead of having to freeze and buy it the next turn or sell 3 things off your board, you can just exchange the Gambler for the 4 drop straight away. That's super, super powerful.
Yeah, it does a lot for your power spikes. You take out maybe a small hit, right, to get a gambler, but then you just activate a avenge immediately, or activate like a key for or tempo 4 to keep you alive. Like it's just so strong in what they do. I also think it's hilarious that the other S minions are just like because Avenge is in the game. Like
Avenge
yeah, it's like
fodder, yeah.
you nerf the Avenge units, and then you look at this tier list and it makes no sense. And I just thought like that's a weird
Yeah.
tier list, but I understand it here because that's just how the game's being played right now. But I just thought like that's funny. But yeah, I don't have too much more to talk about this. Any weird disagreements or anything in there?
Yeah, it's tier 2. It's really
Yeah,
not
yeah,
worth
it
it.
does not worth the effort. I agree with
We
you.
just don't spend time on this tier at all.
Tier three. Ooh, I got my ratio's horrible here. What am I doing? I tried to
Whoa.
full screen it. That's my issue. I just like
Uh,
blindly full screened it. My mistake. I thought it was better than having like huge gaps, but I'm looking at this and I'm like, maybe the gaps
I'll
are
take the
better.
gaps. Yeah.
But yeah, for tier S, I mean tier three, for tier S of tier Tavern 3, we've got the name I don't remember, fake
Gem
brand,
Splitter,
gems. Yeah, you tell them.
Gem Splitter, Green Thumb, Thorn Collar, Briny.
Briny, yeah, Briny, yeah. And I think a lot of it makes sense because they're like the scaling threes. I guess is how you'd look at it. They're the threes that you can build around. Essentially, you can scale and
I
do.
think here it's already sort of the foreshadowing of the round table in general playing a lot more pirates than we do. Because I agree that the 4/4 is just good. I just really don't find myself having it on my board very often.
Yeah,
The
I need
briny
double
is
briny. Yeah, yeah,
insane.
yeah. The briny
Yeah.
one was like that. We play similar and then different from
Yeah.
the rest of the
Yeah.
people on the table, right? So we like agree with a lot of the points. Like this is weird, but then like when they
But
talk
we
it,
can see it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. When they talk it, like I understand it, I know, but this is not how we play. But I understand it, so I can see the briny. Like I like it. It's not like crazy to me. Like oh yeah, double briny or something like you like it's so strong, right? You get 2 gold a turn or something. Then you lead into that into a Peggy or whatever nonsense, and yeah, you're off to the races. It's good. Is it S tier for me? I don't know. Like yeah, I mean, but I understand it.
Yeah. For my playstyle, no, not
Yeah,
right now.
I don't take brinies unless I'm crying, or I am playing a weird hero that stays on 3 or something, and then it's like yeah,
Yeah.
sure, But normally I'm like skipping 3, right? So like
Yeah.
I don't get the opportunity to buy a briny.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We go from 1 to 4, right? So
yeah,
we just
yeah,
don't see brinies because
yeah.
we don't power level very often. It's from 1 to 4, up again.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of interesting.
Something that stood out for me is that, well, I mean, obviously I
The
love
one
Khadgar.
four.
For me,
Okay,
Khadgar
it
is
would
gonna
be
be
S,
up
right?
there
Yeah.
just because of the sheer amount of possibilities he opens up.
They were too scared. Like they're like it's so risky, but if you play it right, it's not really risky. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like
It requires confidence and experience, and it's something that honestly I can't even defend so much because I
I can
don't
defend
know.
it. To be fair.
Well, yeah, but you'd have to spend a significant amount of time getting comfortable with this, and I'm not sure how
Oh,
productive that is,
yeah.
right? You don't want to be
To
like,
be,
"No,
yeah,
it's good."
to be fair, putting this on
Yeah.
S tier and saying, "Oh yeah, this is the tier list." Oh, Khadgar S tier, take that. It's like
Yeah.
weird, right? Like that's I agree with that point. Like
Like,
yeah,
you wanna
so,
put, like, between brackets, "Only for professional
yeah,
transitioners."
yeah.
Only for professional transition players,
It's
you wanna
not
do this.
even horrible as a unit because it sometimes it's like
Yeah.
2 extra
You gotta
pumps for your
you gotta be
event or something.
Greybow kinda almost, because your board is just always full, I feel.
Well, I mean, like let's say you start with something and then you have an acolyte, then you have like a swabby or something, and then you have like a
Mhm.
imp at the end or something like right, and then like that one Khadgar could get you like what
Oh,
4
yeah.
more death rattles or something,
And just it's just 'cause if you're not Greybow, that shit doesn't get taunt, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
thing, right?
It's
So
worse,
the
but
the amount of times you get sniped is pretty high, but
yeah, for
yeah,
sure. Yeah, but the potential is there for sure. So it's not even like a
yeah.
bad card as only transition, and there are other uses, and such, and it fills some comps, particularly pirate scam. So da da da.
Mm.
But yeah,
Is
you
yeah.
want to say something?
Oh, well, I was first gonna ask, like, is there anything that stands out for you that you're,
Yeah, the
thinking
one
of
four and
your
A,
buyer?
the 1 4 and A. I was like, I don't know if
Bannerlord.
yeah, the banner board. I'm not a. I don't think
It
it's like that impactful for it, like compared to the rest of it. Where if I see a banner board, I'm like, yes, I'm very happy or something. Like I'm like crying already because I'm like, this is what I have to run with. I don't really see the huge advantage. Like if it's banner board plus the 3/3, then we're talking. But a lot of times I'm
yeah.
like a banner board. I'm not. But
Yeah,
I can see it in A. I'm just like not. I'm
I
not.
I can also I can
Yeah.
also see it.
Yeah.
Once again, this is coming from players that play a lot more Jeef and 3-on-3, and I think if you play more 3 on
On
3 and you
3,
get, like,
then this makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
because
I
because
think
you're
that's true.
yeah, you're seeing more Quillbores in general, right?
Yeah,
Because, like, Quillbores from 1 on tier 1 are just awful, right? You have the 3-on-1 bacon, like, you're not keeping any of that on your board. But Quillbores on 3, and then, yeah,
and it's
those are
something
fine.
you can like. Let's say you have 7 good, you can buy this and roll, and you're not like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Buy
So, and
roll and
that's
either
really
get another
interesting.
banner
Yeah,
war or
yeah,
something, so I think it's fair. For me, like, Bird Buddy, it's so good that I'd probably move it S tier. But once
yeah,
again, I
yeah.
play tier 1 all the time, so I pretty much always have a bench set up. So a lot of the time, if I haven't hit with my triple into 4 drop, I just buy Bird Buddy and then I just go to 5, and then I get Crocodile and Mama Bear, and that's how I compensate for the fact that I missed on my 4.
Yeah, I think
So
that's a you specific tier kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
so you need to know how to play with it and what you do with it, but it's something that has salvaged so many games
so
for
many
me.
games for you.
'Cause it's like you got your 4, like, I had this exact game where I tripled into 2 cards I really didn't like and, like, a Hydra, and I'm saying here, like, "Okay, I've got this really good Avenge setup. At least with the Hydra, if I hit a Bird Buddy, suddenly I have a game plan, I can go to 5 and I can go into Beast," and that's exactly what happened. Hit a Bird Buddy, I had 2 Acolytes and a Hydra, and then eventually, it was just like, "Well, I can kinda skip tier 4, maybe, like, level and buy 1 Beast."
Right.
And then I'm on 5, and I just roll for Crocodile Mama Bear, and you just like your game is saved, as opposed to, "Oh, shit, I missed my triple, I'm gonna just panic roll on 4 and die."
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I do see
situation.
it. Yeah, I do think the A is fine for Bird Buddy, but I can see why it's like it'd be like high A or something, you
Then
know, like
because of that, like, Rat Pack for me moves up as well, because I buy Bird Buddy quite a
yeah,
bit.
then that's a bit of a bias there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for
but
sure.
I mean, I play so much Tempo Beast, like, maybe
Yeah.
way more than anyone else at the round
I
table.
do think I can see Rat Pack up one. Like honestly, there's so many things in B that I'm like, why is that I can see like Rat Pack being a little bit better than that, as well as Rat Pack being like an Avenge procer, like 3 death.
Exactly,
Yeah, so
yeah.
like I
3
honestly that
bodies, yeah.
alone would move it up for me. So I definitely think
Yeah. I think at the very least a B for
a
Rat
B.
Pack. I
Yeah,
think
very. Yeah.
I might have been glossed over a bit by it. Well, or maybe not. Maybe I'm just
I
putting
agree
words
with
in
you.
your
I
mouth.
agree with you there. Once again, Murlocs are in D. Once again, the Seer is the best. You're doing something wrong, and then
Yeah.
they just have the like the minion type buffers. It's interesting that the dragon gets the C treatment instead of the D. Like I was a little bit like,
It's a taunt.
yeah, I know I knew this.
No, for real. Like you get it from this major, you're like, I guess I end on the forefront.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's okay. Yeah, sure. I just
It's very
whatever.
silly.
I thought it was weird, but the rest of them I'm fine with, really.
Yeah, like maybe for me, juggler move to A, but that's maybe again a me
But
thing, right?
yeah,
Uh,
you like salvaging once things don't happen,
yeah,
and then
I
those are
I
the
like
salvage cards. Yeah, that you're like,
Bird
yeah,
Buddy, juggler.
yeah.
Well, the thing is, like, it's not even so much like salvaging as like I'm just gonna shoot for a top 4 spot. It's like, okay, let me just put some jugglers on the board and be strong and still push to 6. And like I've done that where I've done like Omega Buster transitions where I just had this board of
You're lying. You don't do it,
no,
Mega Buster
no,
transitions.
no, no, for real. No, no, no. I've been doing that today, Collins.
I don't
I had a
believe you.
gold. No, no, no. I had like golden fucking what's it called? I had golden Doomsayer, and I was just farming demons, and then I just had like 16 gold in one turn where I just rolled a bunch for like because I had 2 busters that I tripled into, right? And I was like, all right, let me just roll for Baron. And it was just like from one turn to another, I just kept this like 40-40 big Fernal, and the rest was just like demons and mechs and busters and stuff. So I I mean
That is not a normal situation for you. I
no,
don't believe it.
no. Yeah, and honestly, you should be skeptical, but the last few days I've just been trying to, or maybe it's like more than a week as well, that I've been playing some Buster because I think it's a bias that I had against it
Welcome
because
to the
I'm
club. Yes, it was. It was definitely a fight. Every time you're like, oh, let's not play with Buster. I'm like, Buster is perfectly fine here. And you're just like, no, I'm going to force my Murlocs or whatever. You probably still force Murlocs, to be fair. Like, I understand that one. But,
yeah.
it's like,
No, no, no. And I will give this one to you. Yeah, there are definitely some good Buster games for sure.
Okay. All right. Moving on to tier 4. I think this one is pretty clear that the Lightspawn, Nest Matron, Doomsayer, all S. Like the Doomsayer one, I was a little bit not as sold, but
Good.
the conversation completely sold me. So I was like, "You're
Okay.
absolutely right. Yeah, this is why am I even like worried? This is definitely S tier here minion." So yeah, for sure. And it's interesting, right? That it got huge nerfed, right? It got moved up a tier and up an avenge, right? Can you believe that? It got moved up a tier and up an
As a
avenge
S
number,
tier.
and it's still S tier. Like that's so wrong. Like,
But I
just
mean, the boards that this minion produced when it was a 3-drop Avenge 3 was just routinely tier 6 turn 7, right?
yeah,
Now tier 6 turn 7 is like, ooh, I made this like juicy double level play. But before, pretty standard. Like, I mean, I just kept leveling every turn. I just hit the level button literally every turn. And then I got like 2 Soul Devours and I leveled twice in one round, because why the fuck not? So yeah, like Doomsayer was, yeah, but it's a good thing to point that out, that it's crazy how the card got not only the extra tier attached to it, but also the increase in avenge, and still S tier. So yeah, absolutely crazy.
yeah. But yeah, that's pretty nuts, and I do agree with the S stuff. The tech cards also kind of agree with. There was a bit of a tension with the Necrolite, because I think
Oh yeah,
Pocky particularly was like, Necrolite's just good generally, you know. But I just was like, but every time you're using it, it's for
it's
a
a
tech
clunker.
reason,
It's a
you know.
clunker pocket. It's a clunker.
Yeah, it's a clunker, and if you're not using it as a clunker, it's a tech card, you know. And it's hard to not argue that point. And eventually, you know, they went around to it. So, pretty happy with that. The rest of the tech cards, I think, makes sense. You could argue that the Prester is like just like A tier or something, but yeah, it's a lot of times when you want to use it, it's a tech card just to remove shields. It's interesting that the other Avenge on 4, right? The mech, the Frank, right, got this down to B, right? I think there was a point Frank was S, right? I think, but nowadays it doesn't feel as like everyone has a Frank or
You
something.
just don't get an economic advantage,
Yeah,
or your entire game isn't solved, like with
yeah,
Lightspawn, right? Whereas Matron and Doomsayer give you an economic advantage, and in a game where you can't bank your gold traditionally, right? Where an auto battler would allow you to do that, here you sort of like you buy stocks or something, right? Let me just like have this minion in my hand, and then I can exchange it for gold later, and that's
Sorry.
exactly what these minions allow you to do. They just open up plays that are not possible for people that don't have those
Yeah.
economy boosts.
Yeah, before Frank was like too much tempo. I think when you got it, like you just destroy people, and you
Blast
deal
with everyone.
15 every time, and you're just like,
But
oh,
we also have to say the meta in general was
has
also just
changed.
more
Yeah,
tempo
yeah.
oriented, right? Yeah. As we usually see, where we have this kind of end of the life cycle of a meta where people know exactly how greedy they can be. And when that comes around, people really start to fully exploit cards
Yeah.
like
The greed
Lightspawn, like
line.
Nature.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, we know, like, okay, this is what I can get away with, and then it's
I
like,
just do it from day
crazy.
one, right? So I'm
It's
already
like,
like,
I can get away with anything. Let's
yeah,
go.
I just do it. So I just I just get comfortable at doing it, even when like maybe I'm not supposed to be doing it. But I'm like, yeah, well. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I thought the A's were also interesting. Matron
Mhm.
and what's that?
So I think the Peggy again is great foreshadowing, right? Where
Yeah,
it's just like, you guys like the 4/4 on S, Peggy is A. And I have to start thinking, like, when's the last time I bought a Peggy? That's got to be a couple days ago. So I remember I tripled into a Peggy 3 days ago, and it was like mildly okay.
yeah, for sure.
They're
Uh,
way bigger at the Pirates than we are.
I don't know. Like I see a Peggy and I buy her, and I'm just like, okay. 2 turns later, sell the Peggy. Like
Tell the Peggy,
I
like,
don't
that
care.
didn't work out.
Yeah. So I'm not as big on it as well.
Once again, not criticism, right? Just like
Yeah,
being honest about how we play and our experiences.
yeah. I do like the Matron in A. I do think it's one of the better tempo units.
Yeah.
Like you can hit that and like find an avenge unit
Yeah.
next turn. You're back on track. Like it's
Makes
it's
makes your Weaver scale, makes your Big
yeah,
Fernal scale as
yeah.
well. So beautiful card.
Oh man, I was so the one thing. Oh yeah, the one thing I was fighting for was the cleaves. The cleaves were like, I feel like the cleaves are better than where they were. That was my
Mm,
one thing. I was always like, why are the cleaves so down there?
yeah.
You know, like, because cleaves win you the lobby. There's some games where you're like, oh, like you're playing out like Cure Hydra, bam. You're playing like, I don't know, Daryl or something. You jump dance to the
Yeah.
cleave. That's the difference between third and second. You da da da.
Playing like George, you have your big
Yeah.
ass ground shaker stacked. You move it
Yeah,
on to
like
a hard.
it's almost disrespectful, you know. Like if I
Yeah.
told them don't play these cleave minions, they'd be like, "What? No, I'm playing cleave every time it makes sense." And I'm just like, "Why are they in C tier? Like at least B, at least like at
There,
least B, you know." Like,
there are far fewer games, I will say though, where you naturally find yourself having a cleave on the board.
yeah,
Just, yeah.
it's wildfire is cheat because Lightfeg is broken. So like wildfire is like,
Like,
hey,
almost,
like you could you could even like put wildfire up because of light spawn, and like I wouldn't like disagree with you. I'd be like, ah, yeah, do the
Yeah,
light spawn. Like I wouldn't disagree. Like but in essence they're cleaves, right? And it's like, ah. You're not really going menagerie, right? That's how you take advantage of like buying a cleave on 4. You're playing you tripled into a brand and then you rolled, you know, wildfire hydra mug, you know, and then you're like, all right, that's the dream or something, you know. Well, you're crying because you know this is what you have to deal with, but you know,
you're playing Menagerie,
yeah, in
right?
that
Yeah.
situation, that's the dream, right? And that doesn't happen that too often. And I do understand a lot of times the cleaves are kind of bait, right? You buy them, you don't go anywhere with them. They're small, they fall off really quickly, and then you're just like doing nothing with these bad units. But like if you have like a major Domu or something, right, and then you just put the cleave in the front, and then there you go. You're playing a hero that can stack a Vol'jin or I don't know, Mukla, anything. Right? You just buff them up and then do like. Sometimes they're the only reason you stay alive for so long, and it sucks that
Very, very off meta though, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah,
sucks
like
that you're
there are
putting
these
them at C for that. All the potential they have, it's a C. Like, I didn't agree with that. But other than that, I was fine with the rest of it mostly.
Sure. My instinct would also rate the Hydra lower because it's just one of those cards that does very little until it's nuts.
It's a bait card. That's the like you could.
Yeah.
It's the Murloc angle, where
Yeah,
a lot of times you pick it up, you
yeah.
bait yourself. I agree. But
Not
the high
supposed to
roll
buy
is
it.
so strong. Like it's like the Murloc high roll is not a Hydra high roll. Yeah.
Like what cleaves do really well is screw you and your poison scam. I'm killing 3 of your poison guys at the same time, right? Or I'm destroying 2 shields and I'm killing a guy. So
Playing
that's
beast,
probably
you know,
yeah.
this is the reason you win sometimes, you know. So,
I tend to play way more beast without a Hydra right now.
oh
with-
really? I'm playing Hydras if I'm playing beast, or I mean that's I'm
I'm
playing
just
that's
playing a bunch-
Mama. I mean if I'm playing Mama.
I'm just playing a bunch of rap packs most of the time, like rap
Yeah,
packs.
you see
and River Rap
the
and
difference
all
is you play beast on 5. I play beast on 6. That's the difference.
that.
Yeah.
No, I go
No,
to
no,
6 as
yeah,
well.
I know, but like a lot of times you're playing beast because you're like, oh, I didn't have anything, I didn't hit the
Right.
nuts. Okay,
You're
I
like,
roll.
you go beast because I have to. I play beast because
'Cause
I
I
want
want
to.
to.
Okay, right?
We're not the same.
I could have played anything. I went to 6. I could have. I chose those.
I agree. No, not really. But like, I mean, I'm on 6 a lot of the time, so I'm just rolling into Goldrins, right? So it's like Macaw Goldrin Hydra with Reborn, and that's my comp, right? If I'm playing.
And then Hydra is obviously the nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the one. That's the one thing. So, other than that, yeah, I'm pretty in agreement with a lot of the. I mean, it's hard to disagree with a lot of the stuff here. Anyway.
Yeah, a lot of very strong players on this. All right. So did you guys do 5 and 6?
We
as well?
did also 5 and 6. Yeah, we
All
just,
right, let's have a look.
ran through it. So on 5, S is Tony Hogger, Mama Bear, Brad Nomi. This is very okay. So 5 and 6 are very different from my tier list. I think because you left, I didn't have another voice of reason.
Yeah, I couldn't do like Chad would have actually been like C tier or something, right? It's like, come on, guys. Like,
I did not
fought
have
for
a
some
voice
shit.
of reason, dude.
Right, so-
Croc was S for me. I was moved.
Croc not in S is absolutely unbelievable.
I
Like,
think
cannot-
I think I argued Croc and S, but I was just looking at I was looking through like the VOD. So I don't know if this is the exact final
Oh, right.
result. So
Whatever.
I'm not
Okay.
100% sure. I can
So
kind of
let's just
look,
assume that
but
they came to their senses and Croc ended the
yeah,
mess, right?
they were arguing. I mean, about Croc for a
Yeah.
while. So I that one might be an S in the very end. But I don't think they only had 1 million in A. So I this might be the no, but I mean, I fought hard for Croc, dude. I don't know. Like, I kind of want to look at my VOD and see what I ended up looking at just for this particular one. But they're big pirate players, let me tell you. In there, it
Yeah,
wasn't really even a discussion. I think,
you
they're
were like
just like S,
Hogger S?
and I was
Okay,
like,
Hogger
I
S.
was, yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I guess so. Like, I
Yeah, I
wasn't
guess.
really.
I mean, I guess if you have like four of them, it's pretty good.
I mean, I understand it though. Like they were like, you win the game with this, and it's like a good setup. It's just weird because you need both of them. That's or two of them. You know, it's not as like
Yeah.
free as some of
Yeah,
the
I would
others.
say that for my current experience, like the Mama Croc would be a tier above the Hogger Tony. But I'm willing to force it a bit more and just be like, all right, well,
You
let's
win the game more though with the
let's see how consistent we can make this, right? And how much of a cost it's going to be, right? Like how often am I going to get a fat eighth because I've got a Tony or a Hogger on my board and I can't get the other one. So yeah, it's not something that I'm dismissing at all. Yeah, it just feels like Croc not an S is a bit of a crime. All right. Void Lord in this meta feels like it should be
A.
A.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Void Lord I think was also fighting for A. I don't know why it went down to
It's
B.
just so
I
many
think I put
cases
it,
where
dude. I want to
super
look at
happy.
my tier list. Let me actually. You talk about stuff. I'm gonna find my
Sure.
tier list.
So Urzul is in C right now. I'd say that's at the least a B as well. But I play Weaver very like every day. I have multiple Weaver games. Like
Oh,
just because I love the
on
thing.
Azul, I would put Azul in D. I hate
You put
Azul.
Urzul in D?
Even yes, I think it's a bait. Every time
You
you're
think
either
it's a
running it when
bait?
you have Doomsayer, and it's like it's the Doomsayer that's carrying out the Azul, or you're running it and you're spending money to buy demons, and that you could be doing so much better with. I don't like Azul.
Well,
I think it's whatever.
but every time you have a Weaver game and
Yeah.
you can triple into a 5 and it's result, it's the fucking
And I
nuts.
don't triple into 5. I go straight for Feldbats. That's
You go straight for
yeah,
Feldbats,
I
but you
don't.
don't always have that option though. Sometimes it's just like either you have to do this like really weird freeze or yeah, I don't know. But also sometimes I'll just have the weavers and then I'll triple for the 6. But then you're still really happy to roll into the Urzel. So, but that's kind of cool that we have a big divide on that. So
I put the Void Lord as a tech card. Okay. I'm looking at my
you were like, all right, I'm gonna put him in the tech department.
Oh man, that's funny. Da 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 da.
For the
Uh,
most part, I'm in agreement with the rest. I think that the Murazond and the Tavern Tempest, they both feel very, very good, but that's because every other game I have a Bram on my board. So I don't know if I want to like move them up to A because they don't really do anything without Bran. But with Bran, they're just amazing.
my list is actually similar, even though I don't agree with it. I bet I guess I just like succumb to their pressure and just like, all right,
Yeah, you're like, yeah, we've been here for a while. I'm
let
gonna
me
just
just
like
put
move
them.
them here
Yeah,
and
yeah,
let's get to tier 6 so I can go to bed. You know,
yeah. I was. I
that's what
mean,
people were thinking, right? Yeah.
but I mean, generally, I mean, it's not like I disagree too much with most of this stuff. I think I wanted. I'm looking. I'm
Did you?
like, did I?
Yeah. Did you put Croc on S or not?
Yes, I did initially, but then I moved
Okay.
it back down. So I get, that's how I feel bad because I knew I wanted it up there.
Yeah, I shouldn't have left this shit. I should have put my foot down. Be like Croc S. Croc S.
Yeah, Croc's good, but I do think Croc's different. I guess Like Croc, I don't know.
I think
The
it's because if you're a tier 6 gamer, Croc is insane as well. Because you can just pick it up and it'll defend you while you go to
I'm
6.
wondering if I actually defended Croc. Now that I'm thinking about it. Maybe I didn't. No. I want to be honest. Maybe I was like, you know what, Croc is A tier. Screw Croc. Croc's not as good as Mama. Mama wins you the game. You can clear or whatever. I don't know. But I mean, Croc does things differently though. Like maybe I was tired. Let's use that. Now with a reasonable head, in the game,
Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah, Croc should be S
Well,
because you could do.
it comes down to the same argument as the Bird Buddy. It might not be an S tier card in a different meta, but right now your board is almost always event friendly. So you have the Acolyte, you have the Icky, and it's way better than Mama at the start of the board. You just need you have like Mama and one beast. Who gives a shit, right? You have Croc and one beast in a board full of events. That's really good. So it's like the Croc
That's
almost
true.
paved the
You
way
should
for
have been
Mama.
here. I know it'd be S if you were there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure. I mean, it is nice. It is
oh
nice.
man,
Like, who are we kidding here? But whatever, it's fine.
it's fine. Yeah, whatever. Let's move on. I want to get done with this now. We're nearing
Right.
2 hours. Last thing we have, I believe, is tier 6. We have the Amalgadon, Felbat, Waxna, Eliza. I had tech cards. For the 5/5 and the 4/4. I put them in tech, but they didn't.
Oh yeah, this little rag. Yeah, that's probably the
Yeah,
most
I
egregious
hated
thing.
this, dude. Yeah,
Nah, it's
mine is
Dude,
so
nosy
different.
looter is above what the fuck?
Yeah,
Nosy
yes,
looter.
I know.
What?
Dude, I
Why?
hated it.
Okay, what was their argument for nosy looter not being in playable trash? If you remember anything.
I do not understand. Okay, mine is very different. Thank God. This tier 6 one is. I said tier 6 had the most differences than the other
Yeah.
people because I was like, I don't understand this. I have trash tech. Like Nosy
Yeah.
Looter, Zap, and Nadine are all in there. Like I'm not.
Yeah, okay.
Those are the triples. I'm like, get me out of here. Like I'm not playing with this. But I don't know. They just said if you get it early, you can hit some stuff. It's something you can keep if you buff it or whatever. I don't know. I wasn't sold. I
If you're
really
allowed,
like.
2 turns
They
for
did all of their thing, and I just kept my my tier list because I was not sold on any of it. Oh man, but yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
because they're not tier 6 gamers, man. They don't embrace that. Oh, let me just buy 2 rags and then give the brand and then play the fucking like Tavern Tempest. They get the Pachachinis and Amul and like,
I still think it's wrong. Like it's so wrong. There's no way you can have this.
I will say the more I play in this meta where people have reborn Maxna, the more it just makes sense where I have to get out of that's the topic we weren't going to get into, right? So it's
Right.
like, but it ties in with elementals because with elementals you make the like the big brand and you make the big Ragnaros. They don't have Divine Shield or Reborn or anything like
Yeah.
that, or the Death Rattle, and that I think is more vulnerable. I still think that there's a lot of games, especially with Beasts out. I think like that's probably where Rag jumps up
Yeah.
because your stats go through the roof. But there's just too many games where I have to start looking at the lobby and say like, well, okay, I mean, I have to start thinking about beating double Reborn Max now.
Yeah.
And just pumping stats with Rag doesn't do it.
I feel like the disrespect for Little Rag, like it's Little Rag Murlocs in, like, and then Dragon and Murloc, Caligos Murlocs in, like it's so good for tier 6 stuff, and it's just like it feels like they don't do that enough, or they don't play that enough. That's not like
they go to 5 and do Tony things.
And Tony things, yeah. So I was like, I'm maybe biased, but like I like the Cali, I like the Little Rag, but I understand Cali B, but at least put Little Rag B too. Like they're kind of doing the same thing in that sense, where when you have 2 of them, they just pop off. They're like, yeah, well if you have 2 Calis, it's better than 2 Rags. I'm like, like it's arguable. I think Rags do different things, like, and it's easier to like just get infinite money with Rag, where you can't really get infinite battle cry money unless you specifically have like
I think the obvious upside here is Nadina, right?
Yeah, that's true. I know.
because that's the scam protection, right? Just jam an Adina and your board is way better.
Yeah, I
And
know.
potentially press turn. So that's the
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I could see
But
the
I
other side, but
playing rag feels a lot better. Don't get me wrong. But then at some point you're like, I have to sell my 80 rag because then that's the maximum to buy. Right? So it's just
I've definitely had those
It-
games where I have huge elementals and I sell it for like a 2-6 poison, and I'm like, yep, this is the line. This is the line, and I'm just like, yeah,
that's
I hate
pretty
it.
awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's just the meta that doesn't reward stats as much as it used to. So, like in their defense, I see why, but especially in games where beasts aren't in, God, man, rag tier 6 gaming is so much fun.
You're
'Cause
pretty happy with the S tiers and whatnot.
yeah, so I think the
Dude,
chef, right? That just
I want to say Sunglares was trolling at the beginning. She put Eliza in A, and I just immediately like, oh, put that in S. I was like, get that sucker in S, and then everyone's like, what are you doing? I was just laughing. Like, it was like, she was like, oh no, I was just throwing things around, you know. It wasn't true. But like, it like tilted me. I was like, get that sucker in S immediately. Oh man,
it's funny because she has fallen off a little bit, right? With like scam comp not being like super high tier end game comp anymore because elementals just get too big, man. Like you get your perfect scam comp a lot of the time. You're like, it's not big enough. What the hell? Like I'm actually getting outscaled.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, tripling into Eliza, just,
Yeah.
straight to 6, right?
Yeah,
Straight to
you
6.
still win. You know,
Yeah, you get Scallion
and now with Tony, it's like a lot easier to just like have like three golden Elizas.
So hey,
it's like, definitely yes.
Yeah.
And then
For
my
the
extra,
most part,
obviously, Amalgam, obviously. Feldbat, you could maybe argue, but like the Feldbat tempo early is still really pretty solid.
I think that's just a result of Weaver and Doomsayer being so good and popular.
And
The Feldbat's
also, I mean,
automatically
also
gonna-
with just lights spawn
Yeah,
being so problematic, as soon as you hit a Feldbat, you're like, well,
Lights
okay,
Feldbat.
yeah, let's just win.
Just turns your Amalgadons into like huge Divine Shield things.
Yeah, so I mean, that's maybe meta dependent, but even then, it's still a good mini.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. I'm happy with Velvet in this. I like the Mama and the Coiler in A as well.
I kind of defended that a little bit, but I feel like that was gonna happen, you know. But it maybe needed a little push.
They were getting around to that, yeah. That's really like that's when I look at like, okay, when I'm tripling into 6s, like, do I have Mama Coiler, right? Because like those are the things where that's not necessarily direction, but
I get to level, yeah.
I get to go to 6 and I get to just pick whatever I want to. So they do feel really, really good. That's good cause. Like push him for the
Just a little nudge, you know, make sure they get it correct, you know.
Like,
I couldn't defend. I couldn't get the little rag to work with me. I was like, I felt like I was the only one defending little rag. And then after the stream, XT's like, "What? Why is you know?" And then like Sun's like, "Oh yeah, I also." And I was like, "Where were you? Where were you all?
Why didn't you speak up?"
Yes, I know.
Where were you when I needed you the most?
That's how I felt. You know, it's like, damn, they left me to dry with this little rag. I was like, just like arguing against 7 other people who were like, "Nah, it's trash." I'm like, come on. Oh man, but yeah. Other than that, I'm pretty okay with the stuff. I would put I'd put mine is a little bit different where I have the salty. No, is it salty? What's it called? The 5/5 and the 4/4. Those two, I have that as tech. So I made a tech thing,
yeah.
and then I have trash tech, so it's basically trash, but you know, tech trash, whatever it is, you know, same. And I just have Nosy, Zap, and Nadina, you know, in there because it's just like Victor was like, "Oh yeah, you say this is not trash? Well, yeah, every time I hope you triple into it." I was like, "Yeah, you tell him, Victor. This is definitely trash." You know, they're like, "Oh no, Zap's useful." I'm like, "Okay, every time get a Zap then." You know. Yeah, so I was pretty happy with that, and I had a
Victor can be so straight to the point. Right?
Yeah. I was agreeing. I was like, "You speak." Yeah. Other than that, you know, I'm pretty generally happy with how it looks. So yeah, that is that's overall the tier list and just our overall thoughts. If you want to listen to it particularly, I think you have to go to Sun's VOD.
Yeah.
My internet crashed during the middle of it, so I don't have
wasn't there
like
for the whole thing.
yeah,
So.
I don't have the whole thing. I mean, I have the VOD, but I'm not uploading it. I feel I don't care too much, so blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, I think that's generally good. I didn't want to do the last topic because I knew we'd go this long. By the way, I was gonna be like, you know what, let's not do the last topic. But then I was like, whatever, I'll put it in anyways, and then we'll see. But I knew this was gonna happen. But yeah, generally, thank you guys for joining. I know this is a long one. This is a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be, but generally that's fine. And hope you guys had some fun. Hope you guys learned some things. There's gonna be definitely more. I don't know if there's going to be more like announcements over the weekend, right? Because it's like holiday season and they like to like give their workers a break, you know, and Blizzard, you know, weird, you know, who does that? But, you know, we'll see if any announcements come next week. But generally, there's still stuff always going on. So we'll see if we can wrap those up in a nice topic for y'all. And hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you, Shady, for being here as always. And see you guys next.
My pleasure, Collins.
See you guys. Yeah, we will see you next week, probably. You know, sorry for the Wednesday. We didn't address that this is on a Wednesday, but yeah, you know, that's life, right? All right.
A whole day early, isn't that great? Aren't we great?
Yeah, we're so great. Yeah, so jealous.